pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was published on the municipal bulletin board and in the applicable newspapers.
Kathleen, roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman.
Here.
Mr. Martins. Mr. Tremor.
Here.
Ms. Cusano.
Here.
Mr. Seleckia.
Here.
Dr. Hofstein.
Here.
Ms. Bradley.
Here. We have no resolutions this evening. I have one set of minutes for our approval. They are from the Well, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it.
It's the lamp that's causing all the problems over here.
That didn't sound good. Okay, so now that we're all awake, we have meeting minutes from the October 29, 25 meeting. Ooh,
That's not a continuing
you're
feature.
not kidding. I need a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes, please.
Motion to approve? Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Mr. Martins.
Yes.
Mr. Tremor.
Yes.
Ms. Cusano.
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia.
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein. Ms. Bradley.
Yes. Okay. I have a voucher in front of me for this evening's meeting in the amount of $175 for our recording secretary. For the zoning board, I need a motion and a second to approve payment of the voucher, please.
Motion? Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman.
Yes.
Mr. Martins.
Yes.
Mr. Tremor.
Yes.
Ms. Cusano.
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia.
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein.
Yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes. Okay, do we have any announcements this evening?
Yes, we do. Number one on the agenda, Lazarano Group, LLC, Enzo's Restaurant, is being carried. It was originally carried from the August 6th meeting, and it will be carried to January 7th, 2026, and they will be renoticing.
There will be no executive session this evening. Do we have any matters for discussion, Ms. Cipriani?
We do not.
Okay. No administrative approval, so we are going to move forward to applicant number 2, Jerry's Auto Body LLC, use variance 3538.
I thought I might swear in the,
Oh, yeah, the swear in the professionals, that might be helpful.
I'm a traditionalist. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and your position.
Mark Romeyer, Board Engineer.
Ernie Peters, Board Planner.
Gina Tumalo, Assistant Zoning Officer.
Steve Mazer, Board Traffic Engineer.
Now that the professionals are sworn in, Ms. Cipriani, we'll move on to applicant number 2, Jerry's Auto Body LLC, use variance 3538. Mr. Jackson?
Good evening, Madam Chair. For the record, John Jackson.
Don't forget your microphone, sir, and you know the acoustics in here stink.
Certainly, I just have to bring it down to my height. John Jackson, on behalf of Jerry's Auto Body, I'm here this evening with Mr. Bill Stevens. He is the engineer and planner. Our application is...
The mic isn't on.
It's not on?
Yep.
I'll start over. For the record, John Jackson, on behalf of Jerry's Auto Body. I'm here this evening with Mr. Bill Stevens. In order to be efficient with time, rather than go through an opening, with your permission, if I could have Mr. Stevens be sworn, he will give an overview of the application, and then we'll just proceed.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And I know that Mr. Jackson has stated your name, but if you could state your name and...
William Stevens, Stevens. I am the Vice President of Professional Design Services, a professional engineer and a professional planner licensed to practice here in the state of New Jersey. I've been appearing in that capacity in front of this board for, well, a very long time.
Mr. Stevens, this board accepts your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening.
And thank you. As a matter of record keeping, we've handed out a PowerPoint consisting of 6 pages, which is essentially in lieu of marking exhibits on the easel. I've provided them to your IT department, so hopefully we'll be able to put them up on the screen. So with that housekeeping matter, will that be A1 or how do you number that?
Are you asking for each slide to be numbered differently?
What I typically do is I mark it as Exhibit A1, for example, it's consisting of 6 pages.
All right, then that's fine. We'll call that A1, and consisting of 6 pages, and then if you, as you go through, perhaps you can identify which page.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, with the chair's permission, can you give the board an overview of the application, state the use that's there, indicate the zone that we're in, the relief that we're looking for, and then we'll go into the specifics of the application.
I'd be happy to. So the subject property is known as lots 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, and 17 in block 2603. It is roughly 8 acres in size, the entire project. It is the property known as Jerry's Auto Body.
And if we could go to slide 3 on the PowerPoint, I think that'll give the board an overhead view with the boundaries outlined.
3.
3.
This is an aerial photograph that was prepared by my office showing the subject property in the center of the map, highlighted in yellow. It is from a near map aerial photograph. The property is bounded on the top of the map by Right to Bow Road and on the bottom by West Commodore Boulevard. The picture you saw in the opening of the slideshow was the facility looking from West Commodore Boulevard. Thank you, John. One bite. Thank you, Anthony. He's got the right one. You need a special one for the TV. Yeah, the TV, you need a special one. So, as I was saying, the property is bounded on the top by Right to Bow Road, on the bottom, West Commodore. The picture you were just looking at was of the auto body office. It's located on West Commodore, but the property does have frontage from both West Commodore and Right to Bow Road. Jerry's Auto Body is a longtime body shop here in town, owned by Jerry Burke, who is here with me this evening. I have been working for the Burke family for somewhere probably around 30 years. I think just about most people who live here in Jackson Township have a Jerry Save Me story, and I am part of that crew, which is part of the reason why I'm here. Jerry has gone out of his way to be a good citizen here in town and has done a lot of really great things for Jackson Township. The property is currently utilized as an auto body shop, although there are some residences located on the subject property as well. This project has been the subject of many, many zoning board applications over the years. It started off as a small mom and pop shop where Jerry and Angela were going to fix cars out of a building that was located next to their house on Right to Bow Road. That's how this facility began, and it has now grown into what I would call the premier, or one of the premier auto body shops located in Ocean County, certainly in Jackson Township. So the application, as I said, they do auto body work here, and there are also some residences. Now, the property is unusual in that it is split zone. So there is a zone line that follows this property line from north to south. The property located to the right is in the R3 zone, and the property located to the left is in the highway commercial zone.
If we switch to slide 5, you could see the line.
Right, this map shows the subject property highlighted or shaded gray, and then shows the zone line in between. And Anthony, I think just go back to that aerial photograph. That really is the best exhibit for us to utilize today. So why are we here today? We're here today because we're seeking to permit a building that was constructed without building permits. It is a metal pole barn about 18 feet in height, and it is this white building located here at the corner of this property. That is why we're here. We're seeking to amend our prior approvals to allow that building to remain. There are some variances that are associated with that building. There are side yard setback variances for both the R3 and the highway commercial zone, again, because the zone line splits the building in half. Not unusual for this property. We have other buildings on site that have the zone line going through it. It just is the way the zoning is in town. The only person that is affected by the construction or the existence of this building is the residential home that is located just to the north on Right to Bow Road, and that is also owned by the Burke family. So there is no one outside of the Burke family that is impacted by the development of this site. As you can see, other than that, surrounding the site, there really is good wooded buffers, and the building itself, if you look really hard, you could see it from Right to Bow Road, but you'd have to know what you were looking for to see it.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Can you just tell us how this evolved? How did we get here? What was Jerry's original intent with this building? How's it used now? And why, in your view, is that appropriate for the use of the auto body shop as an overall entity?
So the original intention for this building was back when Jerry was doing a significant amount of towing, police towing here in town, and had some real serious sizable tow trucks. Some of you might recall he had some of the largest tow trucks I've ever seen on this facility, and he needed to get them out of the weather. It was winter time, and he put up the pole barn so that he could keep the vehicles inside. That towing operation doesn't exist here any longer, and the building now is simply utilized sometimes during the auto body work. 2 of the bays in the building are used as detail bays to detail cars that have already been repaired. After the repair process is done, they'll detail them in those particular bays. And the other bays are utilized as a very specialty alignment shop, something that's, well, I'd have to have Mr. Burke explain it to you if you want more details, but it's a process I really don't understand. It's something to do with lasers and whatnot, how we get cars fixed so that they're back all pointed in the right direction.
Thank you. And Mr. Stevens, what type of relief do we seek here? We're not building anything new. It's been there for a dozen or so years, correct?
Correct. The building's been there since about approximately 2015.
And you've been to the site. We don't have any issues with drainage or runoff or anything like that?
No, as far as I'm concerned, there are no engineering issues with the site. There is access around each and all of the buildings. Emergency access can get to every building on the site. There is pavement in the front of both of the office, or let's call them offices, here and here. There's pavement off of Right to Bow and off of West Commodore, and then the rest of the yard is basically a gravel yard.
So in terms of the variances, though, we do need a use variance because we got several uses going on here, correct? And you also said the split zone line.
Correct. So the use variance for this property is complicated. We have been here many times. Just as an example, the original auto body shop was a permitted use in the zone, but Jerry's residence wasn't. He lives next door to the body shop on Right to Bow Road. So we had to get the use variance to allow the residents to remain. And then over the years, the zoning has changed. In those days, I think it was all LM, and now it's changed to what it is today. So in some cases, we've needed variances, use variances for the residential uses on the site, and in some cases, we have needed use variances for the auto body uses on the site. And we have a host of those variances that have been approved by this board, and obviously the facility exists and is up and running.
So in terms of the use of the facility, would you describe it as a neat and tidy operation and all the different uses work together very well and have for many years?
I think so. As I said, I see it as the premier body shop in this area, and it's all that Professional Design Services uses. We use them, and they have helped us many times over the 30 years that I've been working for Jerry.
All right, so let's take a look at the review letters. So I suppose We could start with the RVE letter. I just happen to have that one on top, October 15th, 2025. You have a copy of that, right? Authored by Mr. Peters.
I do, yes.
And the first informational paragraphs on the first page, you don't have any issue with any of that, right?
Just one slight correction. There are only 3 single-family homes on this property. There is the one, the original Burke residence on Right to Bow Road, which is this one with the swimming pool. There is another residence that's located on West Commodore next to the office. And then there's a third residence that's located all the way in the back. And we came in, this board saw that application. Wow, I don't remember how many years ago. I'm sorry, it is starting to blur together. But there was a house there originally. One thing I didn't say is that this property has been in the Burke family for 80-plus years. I think somewhere closing 100 years. So the facility has evolved. There was a house there located in that left rear corner of the property, but Jerry's son did reside there, and they wanted to build a new home. They were having a baby and families growing, so we came to this board and amended our use variance at that time to build that new home. So there's a new home that was constructed. In the back of that, the other 2 homes were existing homes.
All right, thank you. So we have the applicant's owner, the materials that Mr. Peters reviewed, the use, highway commercial, and R3, we've addressed that. We seek the use variance to construct a building. So in the sense that this is a pre-existing non-conforming use, either by being grandfathered or by having various board approvals, D1, D2, D3, we're technically expanding it by adding this building.
Right, I would call it an expansion of a non-conforming use. That is what we have here, so I would call it a D2, but that's just me.
So, it's difficult to characterize it, but either way, do you see that this expansion in any way, is detrimental to the zone or somehow, creates any kind of a negative? And we'll get to that in more details in a minute.
But no, I don't see any negative, just the opposite. The building allows for all the work on site to be done inside an enclosed building, which is a requirement of your zoning ordinance. So there are benefits to having the building there. And as I said earlier, the only people that are affected by this building are the Burke family themselves.
So let's look, Mr. Peters then lists 3 through 12, all the various thing that's requested. And he says it's unclear which D variance is requested, so we're requesting all the D variances. But like I said, D1 non-conforming use, expansion of prior non-conforming use, et cetera. So I think it's at least probably, you can make an argument for either one of those. So we seek relief under both. Then under B, automotive repair shop, Mr. Peters asked for testimony. No outdoor oil drainage pits or hydraulic lift pits be permitted. Can we check that?
That is correct, yes.
All repairs shall be in a fully enclosed building. Can we check that?
Yes.
All vehicles awaiting repair will be behind a solid fence or screened from the public eye or evergreen plantings as required by the planning board.
Yes.
Address that with testimony. No vehicle awaiting repair shall be stored out of doors within the required front yard area. Check.
Yes.
No gas pumps, right?
No gas pumps, correct.
5 checks. 6, junk or dilapidated vehicles. We don't do that, right?
No, this is not a junkyard. Vehicles here come here for repair. I mean, they might look like junk when they get here, but they leave looking brand new.
So that sounds, all right, never mind. We have status conforms, and the variances are for the front yard setback, maximum building height. Can you address the 2 bottom items on Mr. Peters' table?
So yes, we have a requirement for side yard setback variances for the building that we're talking about, for the existing building that's at the point here. It's approximately 7 feet off of that property line, which would be a side yard setback variance. Mr. Peters and I were talking about it briefly before the meeting, and I said we could have simply included that lot with this application and would have taken away those setback variances. So all the variances are required. They're fairly de minimis because, again, they don't bother anyone. And then the building height, we're allowed 15 feet. We're looking for 18.1 feet, and that's for your accessory building requirements. So we are seeking that variance for the building height.
So,
I'm sorry, I just have a question on this topic. Do you want to finish and I'll ask later, Mr. Jackson? I don't want to interrupt your flow.
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't catch it.
I said I had a question. I could hold it if you were in the middle of flowing.
Whatever your pleasure is, Ms. Cipriani.
Just, because I just like to, because I had a question, and I think some of the board did, about the fact that that lot was, or that section was not included, because of just what you had said regarding the side setback. Is that all held, including the piece where the residential home is that held in common ownership? Well, my question is really whether these lots have merged, and whether it's just part, it may not be part of the application, but whether it's part of the lot. Oh. Sorry. And just if you hadn't heard, my question is whether that sort of triangular piece where the home is at the top, that's not part of the application, but it may in fact already have merged, and then it's just part of the lot. So then there would not be a need for a side setback variance.
So, Ms. Cipriani, I don't know if this helps or confuses things more, although they are owned by the Burke family, they are held in different names.
That does make a difference.
From a legal standpoint, that's separate ownership.
Okay.
Could I interrupt and continue? On October 17, 2019, there were two deeds where the grantor was Jerry Burke and the grantee was a family limited partnership. Who is the owner of the property legally right now? The partnership? And also, who is the principal and who is the
You have to
contact?
get sworn
We'll
first.
have Mr. Burke answer that.
Sure.
Yeah.
From
I'm s-
I know you're talking about a practical standpoint, who controls it, but the legal entity listed on the deed is who owns it, and we'll describe who the different
I'm sorry, I
involved
can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The legal entity is shown on the deed is the owner, and from a legal standpoint, Ms. Cipriani will confirm that. Mr. Burke could provide you the details of who controls it, who operates it, but the status of the legal owner is per the deed. So, Mr. Burke, he's got a microphone.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give before this board is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you could state your name for the record.
Jerry T. Burke.
Thank you.
The answer to your question, sir, is me and my two sons, I guess, own it. I'm the primary owner. I have like 90%, they each have 10. And the reason it was changed, because it was simply put into a trust.
Okay, I could see that, I just wanted to clear up.
Yeah, it's all,
Who is the
me and my
principal?
two sons own it, and I put it in a trust, because obviously if I was to die, then you have all kinds of complications, and it just made it easier to leave it to them in a trust.
Okay, that's just one. And just to help our zoning office out, who is the approved contact in case there's a problem?
I am.
You are, okay. And it says here that the limited partnership, I wanted to get into how these lots were created, because you have lot 15, which was one of them, and 16, but when it comes to lot 17, it seemed there was a lot of pass-through on that, where the original lots were 17.30, 0.4, 0.04, 0.03, 0.05, and then they became lots 8, 9, and 10 in block 2603, and these lots now all lot 17.
What happened was, I'm hoping I'm answering your answer. On the right DeBow end, there was 3 or 4 lots when I originally bought it. I think it was 3. And when I come in front of the board back then, which was 20 years ago, maybe more, the township wanted me to consolidate those lots so they didn't have little messes all over the place. And then the lot off of Commodore, we've owned that for probably 75, 80 years, way before I was born. I know that. And I think, does that answers what you're looking for, I hope?
So lot was 17 was the combination, the consolidation of
Right,
all
yeah,
those other
yeah,
lots.
yeah. They tried to simplify the application back then.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
All right, so we were going through Mr. Peters' review letter, and I believe we had talked about the variance issues.
Mr. Jack,
Jackson, if you could just speak into the microphone, please.
I'm sorry. So, the variance plan issues, there's a discussion about that. We talked about the different zones that we're in, compatibility with surrounding use and uses. I think you've addressed that, mitigating factors for the use variance. He's addressed that we're not visible from the road. We're surrounded by trees and other buildings, et cetera. Is that correct, Mr. Stevens? You've already addressed that, mitigating factors.
I think so.
We've addressed that the use will not be a detriment, won't detract from the character of the neighborhood, having been there for 80 years, is that type of use. That the adjacent property is adequately safeguarded, it's all under common ownership, suitable for the intended use, being that it's in the middle of an auto body shop. We believe that's self-explanatory. Now, number 5, serve the best interests of the township. Can you address that and how the towing factors into that?
I think I can. As I said earlier, and I'm serious about that everybody has a Jerry Burke Save Me story. So Jerry continues to serve Jackson Township here. And he assists with the police towing here in town. He's not doing police towing anymore. Towing operations have gotten very small. But what he does is he receives vehicles from the police towing to either act as a repair facility to fix cars that are in accidents. They get brought to Jerry's yard. And it also handles impound issues for the police department as well. So he continues to serve Jackson Township through the work that he's doing here. So I think that certainly adds to the public good here.
So we talked about drainage. You said there's no drainage issues, not adversely the safe flow of highway traffic. So this building doesn't really create any more traffic or busyness to this site, right?
It does not.
It just lets them do the work inside when you have to detail vehicles.
Right, it gives the employees a safe place to work.
And then likewise, when they do the alignment, he talks about the variance testimony, automobile repair shop. So I think we've addressed the rest of this. So variance plan and waivers, again, D1 or D2, we're seeking, or both. And the D1 is prior nonconforming use. D2 is when it's expansion of a prior nonconforming use. So it's difficult, I think, to assess that because we do have D variances for the entire site, as Mr. Stevens has indicated. So I think you can make an argument that it's both or either a D1 or D2. So, Mr. Stevens, in terms of the weighing of the positive and negative criteria, you want to address that and the reasons for the variance?
So I'd be happy to. So the board well knows anytime that we have a D variance, we need to show that it applies to a specific piece of property, which obviously this does, and that it can be linked to some of the purposes of zoning. So looking at the purposes of zoning for this application, I think we could state point A, which is to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. And my response to that is that I think that this variance would promote the general welfare and that the structure will allow the employees to work inside a fully enclosed building, which is in accordance with the conditions of your ordinance for an automobile repair shop, 244-109, and also the civic use of assisting with the police towing, I think contributes to the general welfare. So I think we could use point A. I think we could also point to point G, which is to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of commercial uses in order to meet the needs of all New Jersey citizens. I think the need for this facility is clearly shown, and we can just look at some 30-year history here that it started out as a small mom-and-pop business, and look at what it is now. Now it is a thriving automobile repair shop here in Jackson Township. I think something that we can be proud of, and the grant of this variance would allow this business to continue and provide what I see as a much-needed service to this community. So that would be the positive criteria. We also have to address the negative criteria to show that the variance is without substantial detriment to the public good. As I said earlier, the grant of this variance, it only impacts Lot 7, which is the adjoining residential home owned by the Burke family. So it's easy to say there is no substantial detriment to the public good should the board grant this variance, because it's not going to affect the public at all.
But on the other hand, it runs with the land, and that lot could be sold.
It could be, yes. It could be, but the lot itself really is an integral part of the auto body business, so it wouldn't be.
And yet not an integral part of this application.
It is not. You are correct, yes. So I
Does a
agree.
member of the Burke family currently live in that home?
I'd have to have Mr. Burke is indicating from the audience that no, it is not currently resided by a member of the Burke family. We also have to show that it will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan or the zoning ordinance. And I think, again, the facility exists. It is going to continue with or without this variance. So I think the grant of this variance to allow this accessory structure will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. Because as I said, it is there. It is going to continue. It's an application for an accessory building, and the building itself only enhances the present operation and, in my opinion, causes no substantial detriment.
That's our review of Mr. Peters' letter. I don't know if it's your custom to have Mr. Peters ask questions, or if you'd like us to move on to Mr. Romeyer's.
Mr. Peters, questions, comments?
Well, at this point, I don't have any questions. They've responded to the letter. To the extent the board wants to go through or ask any questions of the applicant's testimony, I'm happy to offer comments to the board with regards to that. But at this point, I'm going to hold off on comments until we get through the entire testimony and perhaps the public. And then if the board has any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Stevens? Mr. Martin?
Yes, thank you. You said, how long has that building been there? There was a bunch of years that was thrown around.
About 10 years, Mr. Martin.
Been there for 10 years?
About 10 years, yes.
So why are you asking to get it legalized now?
Mr. Burke received a notice from the zoning office, and that is why we're here.
So the zoning office discovered that. You also made a statement that it's there now, it's been there for 10 years. Whether you get the permit or not, it's going to stay there?
The use is going to continue. The use is permitted. We have the D variances necessary for the use for the residences that exist on site. We're asking the board to grant us approval to allow this building to remain. That's what we're asking for.
To remain, right?
If the board were to deny this application, we would have to remove the building.
You have to move the building so that it
Correct.
lines up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant the use, the facility
Oh, okay.
will remain, not the building, no.
Right.
We're here to ask
The use, yeah.
that the building remain, correct.
I'm still struggling a little bit with that property that we're not, it's there, but the one that really this infringes on, right? So it's owned by the Burke family, but it's not a Burke person, so it's being rented out to somebody different?
On
Yes.
page 5, we might be able to get a better look at what that is,
Yeah.
right? Page 5?
Because it really comes down to that, I think.
Which one, the bright white one up in the corner, on the tip?
Correct. They're talking about Lot 7, which is on Right to Bow Road. It's a home next to the Burke's residence, which was here.
Right.
And that's controlled by the Burke family, in other words, they rent it to tenants.
Currently controlled by the Burke family,
Yes.
right?
They rent it, they own it and rent it.
Right.
So it's,
So any detriment, meaning value to that property, because there's this big building right next to it, it's on the Burke
it would be borne
family's
by my client,
problem
yes.
anyway.
Yes.
Right?
And we don't think it's a problem. I mean, you live behind a metal building, it's like a barrier in its own right. In a lot of ways, that's a buffer and you're almost better off with that there. You're looking against a wall versus looking out across a working, busy yard that has tow
Right.
trucks, that has impounds, that has mechanics, et cetera. So we think putting this inside a building provides a better shield and barrier for that house in any event.
Okay, all right. Okay, one last question that has nothing to do with it, actually. Is Burke the same Burke as Burke Road? Is it named after you guys? Right, you've been around for a long time. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So I had a question. We've addressed a couple times the Burke family property that's separate, that's not on this application. The normal process when we're asking for setbacks is, did you reach out to the neighboring property to purchase it? Were they willing to take care of this issue if you could join this property with this? So here, basically, you're telling us that the property is owned by the Burke family. The applicant is the Burke family. Is there a reason why they can't consolidate these lots to take care of this setback issue?
Well, that would exacerbate the nonconformity because then we'd be adding yet another nonconforming use to the mother lot. So we think that would be detrimental. Also, that principle that you're discussing, that applies to when you're looking for a bulk variance for an undersized lot. The doctrine is that you have to seek to acquire property to eliminate the hardship. The hardship, you say, I don't have enough room, and in this case, since the building's already there, and since it's also, that doctrine only applies to adjoining residential properties. It doesn't apply to commercial properties, I think, under the Dallmeyer case. And on top of that, when you do own the property through a related entity, it might as well be a different person. And we don't seek to consolidate it for lots of reasons. So that's how I'd respond
Right,
to
and
that.
Mr. Jackson, I
Respectfully.
think that what you just said kind of gets to the heart of what the board's concern is, that, you have to treat it like it's a different person.
Yes.
And it someday could be a different person. And I fully understand, and I'm sure the board does, this is a Burke family property, it's obviously a Burke family operation. That's certainly not anticipated, I understand that. But I think, that is the concern that the board is asking to be addressed. If that were to be sold, we understand now that's not an issue, but,
Yes, and it just, as someone who's not here as often as Mr. Stevens, it's kind of odd that this is a non-conforming use, being that it's been there for 100 years and it's so integral to the community. So anybody who buys
it's also odd that we can't understand what you're saying because you're not speaking to your microphone.
I don't know how that's happening. It's right here. That means I get to think about what I just said and maybe fix it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This is a long-standing, non-conforming use, but it's integral to the community. And anybody who buys that house, buys it from Mr. Burke, if somebody else, they would know what the condition is, and they would take that into account on determining what they wanted to pay for the house, and it wouldn't be a surprise to them. So, we think that the scale tilts in favor of approving this, and we're hopeful that the board views it the same way.
Okay, so thank you for addressing that. The next thing I had was, it was mentioned that it's not a junkyard, that you don't store vehicles that are only meant to be repaired. I was there today on the property, and I saw that there's a fully burnt vehicle sitting there, so that's not going to be repaired. Now, and then the second part of that is that you mentioned that you tow vehicles for the police department or for the town. Just we could get some kind of clarification.
We'll clarify that.
What that kind of contract is, and if we're even allowed to hear this in front of this board, if you're contracted with the town, for clarity purposes.
Yeah, well, the car you saw that was burnt had just recently come in. Really, no car stays on the property more than 30 days. We do tow for the town. Impounds have to stay there until the police department release them. If you were there today, you saw a large trailer sitting there.
Correct.
That was towed in about 4 days ago. The police department caught somebody going down the road with a full-size house that shouldn't have been allowed on the road. That will be out of there probably within 15 days, because anything that large, we try to get out of there immediately. But really, no car sits on the property more than 30 days at max.
Okay.
And if you were there, I think you'll see that the property was kept pretty clean.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I'll just open up. So Mr. Hine was just asking me if we're allowed to hear the application because they're contract with the town. The answer is yes. The contracts that are put out in this way, they're for towing, there's a rotating list, and the things go out to bid. There's no, the fact that they do work for the town is not something that the board can consider as for giving favorable treatment, but it also does not create any kind of barrier.
Thank you
But
for the clarity.
with that said, we think it is part of the positive criteria, though, because
Yes,
it's
we
a
know you
public
did, you
good.
said so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a
I
couple
was
of
talking
questions to go back to the pole barn. You had stated before that it straddles the line and part is in the R3 zone and part is in the highway commercial zone. What lots does the pole barn occupy? Is it
Mr.
one
Stevens
lot
could
or a
address
few
that with the
lots?
pointer, and the lot designations are right there, so we'll switch back and forth between that slide and then the one that shows the actual building.
I'm not sure I understood your question, Mr. Hofstein, but the zone line runs right through the middle of the property. So the shaded properties along Right to Bow Road, they are in the R3 zone. The shaded properties on the left side of the line, they're in the highway commercial zone. Does that answer your question?
But I wanted to know what lots the building is in.
So
Is it lots 15, 16, and 17? Is
So
it
the
just-
building straddles the line between existing Lot 8 and Lot 17. It's on both lots.
So what would happen to the building if one lot was sold?
It couldn't be. No, this facility is a compound. If it were to be sold, it would be sold as a whole.
Okay? And you had also stated that you did not receive building permits for the pole barn, and I assume it didn't receive a final inspection either. Would it be possible for you to provide a final inspection so we could have on record that it's a safe building?
We would require, as a condition of approval, that this get its inspections and get everything passed. A zoning approval does not give the habitability approval that would be required by the township. So, Mr. Stevens, so, we're
Right.
going to...
Mr. Hofstein, if this board were to approve this variance, we would have to come back into the zoning department for a building permit, essentially, for this building, and it would go through all the necessary inspections before it was approved and able to be occupied.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I just have to follow up. I almost hoped someone wouldn't have asked the question that just got asked, but Mr. Stevens, on your cover sheet, there's a list of property owners within 200 feet. It appears that of the 6 lots that make up this property, 3 of them are owned by one entity and 3 are owned by another. Is that correct?
The list would be what we received from the township.
Your client owns a property. Are 3 of the lots owned by one entity and 3 owned by another entity of these 6? They're all in a trust. I own them all. But they're in separate entities, meaning at some point you could sell 3 of the lots and sell the other 3 lots, because 3 of the lots appear to be in something called JRJ 459 Wright Family LP. That's great. 3 others seem to be in JRJ 456 West Commodore Family LP. Okay.
I'm sorry, sir, if we just,
No, that's,
we
no,
need you to be
he
in the
answered the
record.
question. He answered the question. My concern simply is that there's nothing so far that stops one of those entities from selling the property, irrespective of the other entity. So to Mr. Hofstein's comment, perhaps as part of the approval, there has to be something that says, if one of these lots is sold, something has to happen with the building. Whether it's an easement, someone comes back before the board, there has to be some administrative function, because the building appears to be on 2 different entities' properties, if that makes sense.
Sir, if I may, I'm more than willing to stipulate that under no circumstances could they ever be sold as a separate lot.
There you go.
I have no problem with that because I have no.
Because that sort of goes back to
I'm
to
sorry,
someone
I
else's
didn't- I
question
couldn't
about
hear the
consolidating.
stipulation.
I said I have no problem agreeing to that if the property was ever sold, that they would have to be sold as a combined unit, that they could not be sold separately.
Or
I
the
have
building would have to be eliminated.
I have no problem with that.
And so we're speaking about lots 8 and 17.
The whole property, yes. I would be willing to agree that if it was sold, it had to be sold as a complete
Okay.
All 6 lots. But Mr. Jackson, you added something that I missed.
I just had said, well, I thought we were just talking about the 2 lots that we straddled. If they were ever sold separately, that they would have to be, the building would have to be
Oh,
removed.
no, Mr. Peters was pointing out that 3 of the lots are under
Right.
the JRJ 459, the other 3 under JRJ 456. So Mr. Burke just stipulated it would have to be
We'd have
sold
to
as
sell
one
it as a
block
whole.
properly.
And,
Okay.
and, you know, I'm sure your planner or your board attorney could confirm this, but under the law, if you eliminate a lot from a non-conforming use, and we have one big non-conforming use, that's actually considered an exacerbation of a non-conforming use, and that it triggers another D variance. So you really can't sell one off, otherwise.
Except that selling it doesn't require,
Well, I
there's
see
nothing
what
in,
you're saying.
there's nothing in your business that stops someone from selling a property and makes them go see the zoning officer before they close.
But we'll agree to that stipulation.
So-
It would have to be sold as a whole.
With respect to Mr. Hofstein's question, I just wanted to make, and I apologize, it sounds like nitpicking, but I think it makes the administrative record clear.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Peters.
so Mr. Hofstein, he had a comment about the property being across 2 property lines. For the purposes of the building staying, they've agreed that it would, if they sold the property, they'd sell them all. Fair enough?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you, I apologize for interrupting.
No.
Mr. Tremor?
Are there any plans, hopefully I can ask this, are there any plans to sell the property?
The,
At the moment, I can't tell you what the future's going to be. I've retired, and my son is working it. So I don't know how much longer he's going to want to do it. I really couldn't say that there's no plans not to sell. You know what I'm saying? I want to be perfectly honest here.
Okay, so anything's possible, just.
Yes.
Right, exactly. I mean, we've had it for 80 years, so, and I think all of you up there know enough that when you got the younger generation, I can't tell you what they're going to do for sure.
I don't know if you could even afford to stay in business the way
Yeah,
prices are today.
if they keep it running, that's the other thing too, yes.
No, I get that. And just a clarification, which will help you, the car that they're talking about, anything that comes in, is that basically you're at the mercy of the insurance company for them to authorize repair, total, salvage?
Correct.
So once the insurance company settles on it, it becomes their property and it's removed in a short period of time?
Right, and the insurance, and it's in the insurance's interest if it's a total. They want it out of there because of storage. So,
Right, they're
you
not
know,
paying you.
Yeah, they want the car gone. No car stays there long, and the gentleman that was there today, I think he can attest that we keep the property super clean. It's in my interest. If I did want to sell or do sell, it ain't going to help me to have a filthy place.
No, exactly. I understand the business. That's why I just wanted it on record clearly that it's not a junkyard and what you're doing. So I understood. So maybe it's a better explanation for everybody. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just one more.
Mr. Hyman?
I just noticed a propane tank behind the structure today. I was wondering if that requires any distance for safety purposes, or if there's any kind of variance necessary for that.
So there is a propane tank behind the building used to heat the building. We will, again, agree to obtain any and all necessary permits for it to remain.
My question was, does that require any variances for the distance to the property?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be our conclusion of the review of Mr. Peters' letter.
I have one question. And we're going back to the building. Where it infringes upon the residential section, what is in that lot today? Because you have a residential house in the middle lot, and you have a residential house in the V.
Right, so the house that we were talking about that's on Lot 7, there is a house that's in the front up along Right to Bow Road. And then, Anthony, if we go back to the aerial photograph, maybe that would show this better and help answer the question.
But is there, not in the V, in the lot next to the V, is there, that's a residential zone. What is in there right now?
So there's a house here that is outside of the project, and there's a
Right.
second house that's here. You can see the pool.
And in between is what I'm trying to get at.
In between there,
Yes. Because you have multiple lots drawn. So in between the house where the pool is and where the V starts, what is in between there?
There really isn't anything there.
It looks like, yeah, it looks like there's cars there, that's why I was asking. But-
Is that Enterprise?
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get at. And that's the part that's screened in
Parking,
and everything.
basically, yes.
Okay, that's what I was just trying to
Yeah,
get.
just to clarify, I was there today. In that lot, there was a bunch of minivans parked there, a bunch of out-of-state license plates. Looks like they're part of the, is that part of the rental company?
Isn't that Enterprise? That's what
Yes, that's what it looked like. It looked like it was part of Enterprise. Thank you.
It's part of Enterprise Rent-A-Car, that's
Oh,
what they
okay,
moved.
okay.
Any more questions?
So that's our review of Mr. Peters' letter. As far as Mr. Romeyer's letter, I think he covers everything on there. There's one thing about the site plan, we're seeking a waiver of that. We're not seeking, so Mr. Stevens, you want to address that?
Right, that was I think the only thing we were asking for some relief from in Mr. Romeyer's letter was having to come back for a site plan. Obviously, all the improvements have already been constructed. We're not proposing to change anything. I think going through the building department, getting the permits necessary for this building, I think should suffice the board that it's a safe facility and can continue. Coming back for a site plan application is a lengthy, time-consuming, and expensive process. We would simply ask for a waiver of that because we're not proposing any further improvements.
Mr. Romeyer?
Yes, in regards to the site plan, I feel that's reasonable to request a waiver since the applicant has provided testimony that the site has existed, it's already received numerous previous approvals, and it's properly functioning per the applicant's engineer's testimony. If the applicant's engineer, can you just please confirm the structure we're talking about, the pole barn? Can you confirm that you have adequate room to maintain around the structure, access the structure, and it's properly lit for the use?
It is, Mr. Omar. There is access all around the building. There is adequate lighting for the use that is there now, and in my opinion, it is a safe operation. I've been to the site many times.
Okay, and the building height is listed on the architectural plans to the peak of 18 foot 1 inch. Can you confirm that's the best you're on?
That is correct. Yes, we measured it.
Okay, from an engineering standpoint, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, we're going to go ahead and open it to the public at this time. For anyone wishing to come forward and ask any questions of Mr. Stevens regarding the project that you've heard this evening. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close public session. Do you have a closing statement for us, Mr. Jackson?
Been an institution in Jackson for decades, and we're hopeful that the board sees the benefits of this application. It's invisible from the road, it helps the operation, and we're hopeful the board will allow Jerry's to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Since we've had our closing statement, I'll again I'll open it to the public, giving anyone wishing to come forward to make a comment this evening, please do so at this time. Seeing no one come forward, we're going to go ahead and close public session. Board, it's up to us for discussion.
Okay, and just as preliminary, the sort of conditions or stipulations that were referred to, and stipulations referred to, is that their vehicles do not stay there for more than 30 days. Their representation had made it would be a condition that they would have to obtain a building permit and have the related inspections, and that would include the propane tank being used for heating the building, and that if one of the lots is sold, that all of the 6 lots would have to be sold, and that is in recognition of the fact that 3 of the lots are owned by one entity and 3 lots owned by another entity. And you also heard the testimony on the positive and negative criterion and the special reasons.
Gene, did you include the height variance?
Yes, so the variances that are requested are the use variance, which would be, I agree, it's an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use. That's the D variance. For the C variances, It's the side yard setback. As the testimony was, this is straddles two zones, highway commercial and the R3, which have differing setbacks, one of 25 feet, one of 50 feet. In this case, the side setback is only 7 feet. That was, we heard a lot of, we had questions and heard a lot of testimony regarding the appropriateness of that, given the relationship of the house to the business properties. For the building height, in the HC zone, it's a 15-foot height limitation. In the R3, it's 25 feet. This structure is proposed at 18.1, and there was also a request for a waiver to not need a site plan because everything is already existing and no more further improvements are contemplated, which Mr. Romeyer agreed was reasonable under the circumstances.
Any comments?
Since there were no comments, I would make a motion to approve as per all the information that Mr. Briani is putting into the resolution.
So I would second that. I just wanted to say that I found it to be consistent with the master plan. I don't see the detriment, it meets the positive, and all the requirements, and therefore I would second the motion.
Any additional comments before we move forward? We have a motion and a second to approve the variance as stated by Ms. Cipriani and all the stipulations. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Mr. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Tremor?
Yes.
Ms. Cusano?
Yes.
Mr. Seleckia?
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein?
Yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes. Your variances have been granted.
Thank you very much on behalf of the Burke family, Jerry.
Do you want?
Yes. I know what you're going to ask, and yes, I do.
Yes. Thank you. I noticed it before. Do you guys want to take a break before we start the next one?
Yes, please.
We will move on to applicant number 3, but we are going to take a 10-minute break before we get started. Just to make note, that clock on the back wall is incorrect. It did not fall back. It is 8 o'clock. So we will start at 8:10.
Oh,
As I said, Mr. Alfieri, applicant number 3, Cardinale and Jackson Crossing number 2, Adventure Crossing amended preliminary and final site plan 776-6, Phase 1, C, D, E, and F.
Good evening,
That's a mouthful.
Madam Chair, members of the board. Salvatore Alfieri, Cleary, G. Kobe, Alfieri, and Jacobs on behalf of the applicant. I just want to get a little procedural things out of the way if I can. You want me to start?
Yes, please
Okay.
start.
So we were, and there's some members here who, in looking at the transcripts, weren't here for all the meetings. So at some point before the board acts, we've got to make sure they sign certifications and read the,
Yes.
listen to the tape. I do have transcripts if the board wants transcripts, but
Mr. Alfieri, I think the transcripts would be very helpful.
Okay.
As you pointed out, and I said to start with, but we do have a number of new board members. They are aware and have been reviewing and all.
Oh, I just wanted to piggyback off what you said, Mr. Alfieri. Is there any way we can get those transcripts in maybe a PDF form and we can disseminate them to
Yes,
the board members
yeah.
as needed?
we'll email them over.
Great, thank you so much.
And Mr.
So-
Alfieri, just so you know, I spent election night watching all the videos of your application. So-
You were here live, I've seen you.
Not on all of them, but I
Not in this
I
capacity.
spent
No,
5
give-
hours watching them all last night, so I heard
Sal,
Mr.
we give the
Borden's
board members an
4 times.
opportunity to watch. As you know, we are recorded and saved on the YouTube channel. We give the board members opportunity to watch, get up to date on previous hearings, and then we certify them with notarized documentation that
Okay, thank
they
you.
did watch previous meetings.
So, yeah, so we were here in March initially. Then in July, we didn't present any testimony. We just had legal arguments on the density issue that at some point the board will act on. And then we were here again in September. At that time, if the board recalls, we at first bifurcated the application and voted on the hotel. And then we had limited time for Mr. Borden to present the history of the site as it evolved over from inception to try and support the density discussion when you get to that. And then we were carried to tonight. We have Ernie's report is from February still. There's been no new ones, I believe. Is that correct, Ernie? Right. And then we have the latest CME report is from July of this year. And that gets us to today. So, and at some point, we're never going to finish the application tonight for obvious reasons, but we do have 4 witnesses that we are going to present during whether it's tonight or some future date. Mr. Borden, we have an architect, we have an engineer, and we have a traffic engineer. So we'll get to whatever we can get to as we go. And at some point and then the last witness will be Mr. Borden again as a planner. And before he testifies, we're going to have that density determination made so we know what kind of proofs we need to put on from a planning perspective.
Yes, Mr. Alfieri, as you and I had discussed, we do have the new board members. They've really been trying very hard to get up to speed on the density issue, which is really a legal determination that the board is going to have to make. I think that they're aware of the basic issue on that. My intention, as I discussed with you, was to review that and then provide them with a written guidance, which will also be obviously provided to you so that you have everything that they're to consider. And then it's anticipated that the next meeting following this one, when this application is heard, that determination will be made.
That's perfect. Thank you. So Mr. Borden has been sworn in and qualified in this particular application. So I'd like to just introduce him and confirm, Mr. Borden, you understand you remain under oath.
Yes.
Okay. So as you heard my summary, you presented the history of the site, and we really didn't get into detail of the actual site plan that's proposed tonight. And
Yes.
so I'd like you to run through that, and I'm not sure, Anthony has the exhibits, and many of them were pre-marked. I assume you used the same exhibits?
I'm a little tired, so I thought I'd redo the history, because that'll put me to sleep.
Oh,
Again,
Yes, if we could start, Anthony, with Exhibit A4. It's an aerial photograph. Yep, keep going. We'll skip right over the history. A3 was the history that we did at the September meeting. Probably about 5 more, Anthony. Oh, I think we go back one. There we go. Okay, so this is Exhibit A4. So we're just going to jump right into talking about the project and where it exists currently and what we're proposing with the amendments to Phase 1. So this aerial photograph is the site as it exists today. This aerial is dated approximately in March of this year. And what you see is Monmouth Road. North is to the top. Monmouth Road is along the top. 195 is on the top right corner. Anderson Road on the right. And the site marked in black. And you see Phase 1 in the center. So what we have is Phase A, which is the portions of the site that remain unchanged, are Phase A, which is the 7-Eleven, Taco Bell, Popeyes, and the Panda Express, and the other multi-tenant building in the front. We have the athletic fields in the back. We have the Air Dome, so it's A, B was the Air Dome, C being the athletic fields. A and C remain unchanged. We're not proposed, they're existing without modification. We have D, which is the hotels, the relocated hotel site up in the northeastern corner on Monmouth Road that was granted an amended site plan approval in the September 3 meeting. And now what we are talking about is basically the central portion of the site. We are seeking to modify Phase C, modify Phase E, and F. And now I'll get into that with some.
I'm sorry, Mr. Warden, I just want to clarify. I thought you said A and C remain unchanged?
I think I misspoke. A and B, I'm sorry. Yes, A and B, I'm sorry. Okay, so if you don't mind, go to the next slide, Anthony. So this is A5. This is the amended site plan that was submitted to the board. And if you don't mind, Anthony, zoom in the center part here. So our proposed amendments are Phase C. What you see in brown is the Air Dome and the building in front that are currently constructed. In white in front of the building is a expansion of the commercial building towards the main access drive, the Pine Drive extension. That extension of the commercial building is already approved. That was included in our 2021 site plan amendment, so that is approved. What we are doing, though, and what we are proposing to amend with this application is one of the 3 hotels on the property is a Marriott hotel that was located over in Phase E. We're proposing to relocate that to the top of that commercial building in Phase C. So we're simply relocating the hotel from Phase E to Phase C. Actually, I have separate exhibits for these. It's been so long since I prepared this. So if you could, let me bear with me a second. Yes, if you could go to the next slide, please, Anthony. And scroll down. Right, so this is exhibit A5-1 that illustrates what I just described. Here we have on the left, this is the approved plan. These next couple slides will have approved on the left and proposed on the right. Here we have again, the Air Dome and the front commercial building that exists. This blue building's already been approved. That's the commercial expansion I mentioned, included in the 2021 amended approval. And then here, and you see here, this is the Marriott Hotel in white, black with the black outline. And in the right is the proposed plan where that Marriott on the left moves to the top of the blue commercial expansion. So then we go to Exhibit A, the next one, please, Anthony. Exhibit A5-2. This is the Hotel D that was approved in September 3rd. So this is Exhibit A5-2, which no longer applies because that's been approved. So we'll move on to A5-3. Is that one? That's just illustrating the hotel moving from the side to the top. So I discussed that in the A5-1. So please go to A5-4.
I'm sorry, Mr. Borden, I just want to clarify, so it's moving to the top of the existing
Correct. So
building?
on the left, here's where it's located now.
Right.
And then on the right is the proposed that's moving to the top of the commercial building.
But that top, the bottom of that's not built yet.
That's correct.
Right, so there'll be commercial on the bottom and the hotel above?
One floor commercial with the hotel above, that's correct.
Thank you.
So both are approved, but they're not approved together.
How tall is that building going to be?
The maximum height for that's actually part of the plan testimony I'm going to get into later, but the maximum height of that building is 90 feet. The height is less than that. So that's actually one of the questions in the planner's report about the height of that building. And it will be he asks the question in his review, the same question. And my testimony is and will be that there is no variance required for that height. Move to the next one, please, Anthony. This one confuses me a little bit. We're going to go to the next one, Anthony. That one doesn't apply. All right, here we have, this is a 5-6.
Oh, that's a 7.
We have in the area.
6 or 7?
Mr. Borden, that's 7, right? That's 857.
My notes, I'm sorry, my notes are wrong. On my notes, I have it as 856, so I didn't bring a copy of that, so I apologize. But so this area between the Air Dome and the athletic fields, which are in green on the bottom, again, the approved is on the left side here. These two blue buildings were the medical research building and the medical campus. Those are being removed from the site. We are moving those to another site. This is an area on the, this is not part of the application. I'm just explaining the steps here. This will be a subsequent application to the appropriate land use board. We have not prepared the site plan yet, but the medical research and medical school are relocating to another property owned by the applicant, which is next to Six Flags Boulevard. This is approximately a half-mile west of the site. You see the Six Flags parking lot, the main access drive here, and there's a piece of property there. So that, just to show you what the moving pieces are, but that will be a subsequent application. Next, please, Anthony. So now we get into Phase E, and that's really the heart and meat of this application, the larger part of it, and that is this portion of the site, Phase E, had been occupied with a convention center, the Marriott Hotel, the Hilton Hotel, and a parking garage. All of those 4 things were in this area. And what we're proposing in this area is our new mixed-use project. So what this slide illustrates is the blue is the ground floor commercial area. And the architect will provide testimony on more details of that, but that's the commercial. And then if you go to the next slide, please, Anthony. And then a hotel was placed above in this area as well. This hotel arises from Phase 4. We had a hotel approved in Phase 4. Phase 4 has been approved for townhouses, but that hotel is relocating to Phase 1 in this location. And this is a large multi-use building. These 2 slides and the next slide just show little pieces of it. And the architect, Stuart Johnson, will provide more testimony on how that looks and how that all fits together. And then the last.
I'm sorry, Mr. Borden, is that blue hotel, is that the one that was approved?
In Phase 4.
Okay. But that was the one that was approved in September?
No, different.
Okay.
No, so
All right.
There's 3 hotels currently approved on the site, or had been approved on the site, and we're keeping those 3 hotels. We have the Hilton Hotel, which is moved up to Phase D. That was approved in September.
Thank you.
We have the Marriott, which is moved from Phase E to Phase C on top of the commercial. And then we have the 3rd hotel, which is originally approved in Phase 4 down in this area, and we're moving that to the large mixed-use building in Phase 1.
We haven't identified that hotel yet? I noticed you said Hilton and Marriott for the other two.
To my
You haven't
knowledge, no.
I'm sorry?
I believe we're looking at Hilton. Hilton has different brands, so I believe it's a Hilton.
Thank you.
And then the next, and this is the final. So, and now what we have here, and these all tie together. You have the commercial on the ground floor. These are the residential in subsequent floors above. So this is our residential apartments. And then the hotel is in the center on the previous slide. And again, they all knit together architecturally, and the architect will provide testimony about that. So just as a brief summary of Phase 1, Phase 1 now proposes commercial uses totaling 237,086 square feet, 3 hotels, 641 residential apartments with affordable housing in accordance with the ordinance. We have the athletic fields that remain in the back of the site in Phase B. There's a total of 4,908 parking spaces with 2 parking structures. I kind of skipped over one part, which is the area that is currently approved for the medical research and medical campus between the Air Dome and the fields is proposed now to be a parking structure. So there's 2 parking structures, one standalone, which is being moved again. It's already approved in Phase E. We're moving it to Phase F. And then we have another one, a second one being added as part of the multi-use at the rear of Phase E. Again, that's part of the architecture. So between the 2 parking decks and all the grade parking, we have 4,908 parking spaces.
Yes, Ms. Tumalo.
Hey, Ian. Just sorry if this is too much of an ask, but do you have like a synopsis breakdown of all the phases you just described?
Yes, if you go to the next.
I don't know if that would benefit
It does.
the
If
board
you
at
go-
all, but that would definitely benefit me.
No, it's fine. The overall site plan, and if you go to the next slide, I believe, Anthony, if I'm correct?
Because I have the
Right.
transcript pulled up from our 9/3 meeting, and I know there was just some changes made, so I just want to make sure that, all the
Are you
documentation.
asking for the Phase 1 itself or the entire, because this is Phase 1 that's on the screen
Right,
now.
so-
Yeah, so Ian just mentioned 3 hotels, 641 residential apartments,
There you go.
athletic fields, 2 parking structures with
Correct.
4,908 parking stalls.
And I just had, Anthony, thank you, pulled up Exhibit A6.
I just happen to lend my paperwork to Ms. Cusano, so I don't have the file in front of me. But I didn't
No
know
problem.
if there was like a synopsis breakdown of the phases and what's proposed.
And there is.
Do you have that like what was originally, it's kind of hard for me to read, my apologies, Ian. What was originally approved versus what the requests are, the change requests?
Well, that wouldn't be on one plan.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I didn't know if you had, you had that right there.
That's actually in the, this is Exhibit A6-1, which is the overall site plan, sheet 4 of 32, that was submitted to the board. And on the right, it shows all the proposed buildings that we just talked through one at a time.
Right.
And then on the right side, you have a summary of all the uses, all the heights of the buildings, all the parking required for the buildings. And in the bottom right, in these notes, is a detailed explanation, Gina, as you had requested, that what I just explained about adding and moving is all summarized in these
I do
notes.
see that. He was nice, Mr. Mazur was nice enough to point that out for me on the plans. Like I said, I lent mine out, my apologies, and it's hard for me to read the board.
apologies.
And just to clarify my last question, you said we're replacing the originally proposed medical research facility with a parking structure?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do I get into the density? That's kind of next to my notes, so go ahead and not do that. I'm not sure.
Is it a hotel?
Okay, so let's tie these back to the zoning that is in place and touch on that. I don't want to get into the planning testimony because, as Mr. Alfieri said, that'll follow the other professionals' testimony. But as the board knows, this is located in the HCMU zone, highway commercial mixed-use zone that allows various commercial uses and residential use. It permits the multifamily residential units. I will not get into the density. We'll leave that for the planning testimony once the other professionals testify. I do want to get into the commercial uses. The hotels are a conditional use in the highway commercial zone, which are permitted in the HCMU zone. And there's various conditions of those uses. Each of the two proposed hotels, each of the two hotels that we're seeking approval from now meet the conditions of those uses. This testimony will mimic the testimony I gave at the September 3 meeting for the hotel that was approved in Phase D along Monmouth Road. And those requirements are lot area, lot width, frontage, depth, and building coverage. The required lot area for a hotel is 2 acres. Lot width is 200 feet, lot frontage is 200 feet, lot depth is 200 feet, and the maximum building coverage is what's permitted in the zone. Phase 1 in total will comply with all of those things. The area of the site is obviously much larger than 2 acres, and it has a width, frontage, and depth of more than 200 feet. Secondly, under B, this is under 244-124 of the ordinance. We have the principal building minimum requirements as far as setbacks. We are required to comply with the minimum front, side, and rear setbacks in the zone. We comply with that. The height of the building must comply with the zone, with the understanding that the HCMU zone allows a maximum height of 90 feet. We're allowed to increase the height of any building, hotel or any other building, by 1 foot for every 10 feet of additional front setback that is provided. The 2 hotels that we have proposed in Phase C on top of the commercial building as well as part of the mixed-use property all have sufficient setback to maximize the height at 90 feet, and each of them has a height of less than 90 feet. So no D6 height variance is required for that. We have the parking garage. We have, again, 2 now. We had received in the 2021 approval of D. It was determined by the board at that time that a parking garage is not listed as strictly a permitted use in the zone. Obviously, parking is permitted, but a parking structure was not specifically included in the ordinance language. So we did receive a D1 variance for a parking garage in the 2021 approval. That is located in the same location that a garage is proposed as part of the mixed use. We are, however, adding a second parking garage in the area where the medical research is located, and that will require a separate or a second D1 variance. I'm just identifying that for purposes of testimony at the moment. We'll, as Mr. Alfieri said, we'll do the planning testimony later in the, once the other professionals have testified. I think we should get the other professionals and not go through Bernie's letter yet. We don't want to go through Bernie's letter. I can. Okay. From a site planning perspective, the site is already developed. as noted in that aerial that we did in earlier the exhibit, most of the work being performed in Phase 1 is in the Phase E area with the mixed use. Again, that was previously approved for 2 hotels, convention, and parking. And that site, that had been completely disturbed, and all of the surfaces are impervious with either gravel or pavement. Some of the permanent pavement or parking was constructed in that area. The remaining part of that area was graded and covered with gravel, much of which is also used for parking currently. So from a land use condition change, we're not adding impervious area. We're simply redeveloping an already approved and developed property. We do provide lighting in accordance with the ordinance, landscaping in accordance with the ordinance. The landscaping of the mixed-use zone, or I'm sorry, the mixed-use area is because we have different levels of buildings with what they call podium decks, which are concrete decks located above the ground. That's really a function of the architectural testimony. So Mr. Johnson, the architect, will get into that with his exhibits. He has a whole series of renderings that'll follow mine. They're a separate exhibit numbered consecutively that he'll go through. All of the stormwater management for the entire property has already been constructed. The sewer and water have all been constructed. So this really is a redevelopment project where we're taking a site that's already developed and we're modifying it for these proposed uses.
So a couple follow-ups. You mentioned that we're going to provide affordable housing units per the ordinance. Can you give a little more detail on what that means?
Yes, the ordinance requires that 10% of the number of residential units be affordable housing. The affordable housing is specifically required to be special needs affordable housing. We are proposing, we will comply with that 10%.
And that they'll be located within the apartment buildings themselves,
Correct.
They're not going to be segregated?
They're not segregated. They're integrated into the apartments as part of the mixed-use structure in Phase E.
In terms of the EV space requirements under the statute, we're going to comply with that?
Yes, we'll comply with that. Yes.
There's a reference in Mr. Peters' report that we've dealt with previously, but it's in the report, and I just want to make sure. We were going to use some of this Phase 1 for parking for a paintball facility on Phase 3 and 4, and we had agreed as part of the 3 and 4 approval that there would not be paintball. So that comment is no longer relevant to Phase 1, correct?
That's correct.
Signage, we're not proposing any new freestanding signs?
That is correct.
So the ones that are, can you just point out to the board what's been constructed and what's been approved but not yet constructed?
Yes. So there is a large billboard sign that's been animated billboard sign that's been constructed in front of the 7-Eleven on the southwest corner of Monmouth Road and the Pine Drive extension. That will remain unchanged. There are smaller ground sign tenant signs for the 4 buildings along in Phase A as well as Hotel D. There are approvals from 2021 that remain in place for another animated sign in the northeastern corner, close to the jug handle to Route 195, as well as a large sign at the rear of Phase 2 along Route 195. Those 2 signs have not been constructed yet, but they are approved in the 2021 approval and remain unchanged.
The 7-Eleven got an approval here also for the gas.
I didn't hear that.
So I said the 7-Eleven, I believe, on the site also got an approval for signage.
Well, that was part of the overall project.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a monument sign for their gas prices as well as the 7-Eleven,
Right.
yes.
And I guess one final question, since the site, from a site improvement point of view, is pretty much developed. RVE did a report dated February 27th. Are there any technical comments that you feel like we cannot address, assuming this were approved as a condition of approval?
There is not. There's additional testimony that I'm going to give after the other professionals go. Remington Vernick identifies a list of variances that they believe are required, and I'm going to go through them point by point as part of my planning testimony. But to keep the site plan going, I think it's best to get the traffic and the architecture. And then I'll return to that and go through the planning testimony, including a point-by-point review of the Remington and Vernon items at the end.
Do we have any questions from Mr. Borden at this time?
Yes, you refer to the affordable housing, 10%. These are special needs apartments?
Yes,
And they will be, special needs will be in the same buildings?
yes.
Will they all be in one area? I'm sorry, will they all be in one area?
I'll let the architect testify to that. I believe they will be, but let's let the architect testify to that, please, Doctor.
Because it would be impossible for them to manage if they're spread all throughout.
Right. Please remember that we have when I say we, I mean my client, because we're the site planners and engineers, but they have a lot of experience dealing with special needs housing. My client has built one in Manalapan as part of a project up there, and we have the one we're working on in phase 3 and 4. So it is specialized housing with how the bedrooms are set up, and so there's caregivers associated with them. But I'll let the architect address that question.
Any other, Jim?
For the parking, you're talking about two parking garages, correct?
Yes.
Is there any outdoor parking also?
Oh, yes.
And is that where the,
Yes. We have outdoor parking. If you zoom in, please, Anthony, we have kind of it all over. We have it alongside and in front of Building C. We obviously have it in Phase A with the pads. That remains unchanged. We have it with the hotel in Phase D. And there's also...
so I guess I'm more focused on the residential.
Correct.
area, residential and the third hotel. Is there
What you see here is ground level parking in and amongst the residential and commercial buildings.
and that's going to be open air?
That's going to be under a podium deck.
So where do you plan on putting the EV spots?
I'm sorry?
Where do you plan on putting the EV spots?
Oh, sure, we can, I think. They'll be scattered throughout the site as required by the code.
Because I know we have been, this board has been talking about EV spots away from buildings, so I'm just trying to figure out where the open air spots you're talking about for the EVs.
Well, it's open air. There's a deck that's, I'll let Mr. Johnson, I don't remember how high the deck is, but it is open air parking. It's not open to the sky, but it is open air parking.
Okay. I'll let Mr. Trimmer if he wants to-
I think it will help you to understand once the architectural exhibits are shown and you can see the relationship. It's hard, as I'm explaining it, I can imagine it doesn't make a lot of sense, honestly, because a picture is 1,000 words, and I think it's helpful to have the architect present his renderings.
And just to confirm, so all the parking lots that are there now that are canopied with solar are going away?
The ones in Phase E
Right.
are, yes.
I'm focused on that spot,
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Peters?
I just wanted to follow up on the question. Mr. Borden, as it relates to the overall parking, perhaps as a condition of the approval, we can get a chart that says what surface parking is going to be provided. And to the best of my recollection, it's been 8 months, we don't have architectural plans for the parking garages, correct? We just have something that says we're going to put this many parking spaces in it. So-
That was one of your yes, that's
So
correct.
you and I have not been able to confirm that the number of parking spaces that's being proffered can actually fit in the building, and it sort of gets kicked to resolution compliance.
I understand.
The idea that, without detailed plans for a parking deck, which quite frankly aren't the easiest thing in the world to put together, we can't verify the parking count. But suffice it to say, the applicant's making a proffer that he's going to have this many parking spaces at grade throughout the project, and then this many parking spaces in parking garages or decks, and then we're going to have to reconcile that as we go through the process of real construction drawings and resolution compliance. But this point, I couldn't verify how many are going to be put in the parking deck because we haven't seen the parking deck.
And Mr. Peters, just so I understand the conditions, it would be a chart demonstrating the number of parking spaces to be open air and those to be contained in parking garages?
To verify that summarily they meet the testimony that was provided.
Yeah, we break down the number of parking spaces on our plan, as I noted, but that's a fair question and a good question Ms. Peters asked about breaking it down into what's open-air parking and what's garage parking. I think that's, we'll make sure we provide that.
Mr. Peters?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Board, just one other, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, and I don't know if you're going to do this in your later planning testimony, but we talked about taking some of the medical use off this tract of land and putting it on another tract of land. I'd just like the board to understand or to get some affirmative testimony that medical was originally going to be an integral part of the design of the entire parcel, and how it is, if the applicant's entitled under the land use law and the ordinance to build whatever they want on here, that's fine. But there's no guarantee that something else is going to be built on another piece of property, and I'm not sure the board can ask you to condition this approval on going and getting another approval.
I agree.
But I think between the original GDP and the creation of the HCMU zone, there should probably be some discussion about that particular use, because I think it was an integral part of the original sales pitch or the original presentation. And I just want to make sure that that's clear on the record, so that the board understands where we were, where we're going, and how we're getting there. Thank you.
At what point are we going to be final on what you're actually going to do here, so it can get really detailed plans, fire department can look at it, police can look, everybody can look at it?
I think we have those now. We have submitted the detailed site plans to the Bureau of Fire Commissioners, and they have issued a review from the spring.
Okay, I don't have them, so.
Okay, I'll provide that to you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments from Mr. Borden? Mr. Borden, you have any additional information?
Not yet, not for tonight. So we're going to offer the board, you could either hear from a traffic engineer or an architect, whatever you'd like to see next.
Before we do that, let me open to the public to
Oh,
see.
public, sure. I think they're all with us, but go ahead, try it.
Right, they're all with you, but just for the record, I'm going to go ahead and open this to the public. Anyone wishing to come forward and ask Mr. Borden any questions regarding his testimony for this evening, please do so at this time.
Yeah, the architect might be better, so we could close the loop on some of the things that Ian testified to, but that's your choice.
Yes, Mr. Alfieri, in your anxiety to get this issue resolved, I don't think that the board chair had finished opening it up to the public.
I was speaking to Mr. Borden, and I wasn't paying attention. I apologize.
So I opened it to the public. Seeing no one come forward to ask any questions, Mr. Borden, at this time, we'll close it to the public, and I think we'll take your recommendation and move to the architect.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for interrupting. I wasn't.
It was an easy mistake to make. You don't have to tell us. We think it's really helpful too.
This is a new witness, has not testified.
Please, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give before this board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And could you state your name and put your credentials in the record?
Sure, I'd be happy to. My name is Stuart Johnson. I am a principal at Minnewasko Architects and Planners, and I'm the architect of record associated with the mixed-use portion of the application.
Just a little history
Sure.
on your credentials, please.
Sure. I am a registered architect with a current New Jersey's license. I have a bachelor's in architecture from Syracuse University. I've appeared and qualified as an expert in architecture in over 50 municipalities across the state.
All right. This board accepts your credentials. Just as you can tell, the acoustics in here aren't great, so please speak into the microphone.
Sure,
please.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
And if better, I could stand at the lectern.
Do you
if
need
that's-
to?
No, just hold the mic close to your mouth.
Just-
Everybody's like, no.
Got
Yeah,
it.
that's no good either.
So noted. So great. So I have a multi-page exhibit here. It's a PDF file. Are we identifying each page, or is the multi-page PDF file one exhibit, and then we can just reference each sheet number?
I saw notes, Mr. Borden prepared some notes of exhibits. Is it 25 sheets prepared by Minnow Wasco submitted, it says submitted July 3rd. Is that the
Correct.
document?
That is correct. That's the date that I have on that
And
document.
I'm not sure, his notes said A7. I'm not sure if that's what that document says, but. Yes.
Yeah, so the last revision date is July, the last revision date is July 3rd of this calendar year, 2025. And I believe this is the next exhibit, which would be Exhibit A7. It's a 25-page PDF set. It's the architectural building plans, elevations, building sections, as well as multiple perspective renderings of the proposed project that was prepared by my office.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine, and then as the page numbers are going to be that C01, et cetera.
The page numbers are in the bottom corner of the page, and as we advance each slide, I'd be happy to reference that page number for the benefit of the board.
Thank you.
So great. So as noted, Minowasco, we are the architect of record for the mixed-use portion or the mixed-use village that's being proposed as part of this application. I think Mr. Borden, the applicant's engineer, nicely identified the site, oriented you in regards to the frontages, the access to the site, and the goal and objective here. But to complement the existing hospitality, hotel, and events, event uses and sport uses on site, we're proposing a new mixed-use village that is comprised of 3 new buildings. So on our cover sheet, which is identified as C01, we have an illustrative perspective view here that we will go to later and zoom in on greater detail. But we're proposing 3 new buildings that are constructed around structured parking that supports each of those uses. Mr. Borden had noted that we're proposing for 641 new residential apartment units. These are rental apartment units. Within the 641 residential apartment units, 10% of those, which is 58 units, are special need affordable units. The remainder of the apartment units are 1 and 2 bedroom market rate rental apartment units. We're proposing for 150 new hotel keys. It's anticipated to be a Hilton flag hotel, such as a Hilton Tapestry, but again, that's anticipated at this time. And we have structured parking either within a vertical precast parking garage that the building is constructed around, or on a ground level, what we call a podium level of the building, which is non-combustible concrete, where we then build on top of it with vertical framing. The ground floor of the building provides for new convenient commercial retail. In total, we have 65,155 square feet of ground floor commercial retail, fast casual dining opportunities, convenience type retail that you would find in a new mixed-use village like this. Again, that also complements the existing entertainment and hospitality uses that are on site. Within the hotel itself, we also have approximately 38,145 square feet of banquet space or event space, small weddings, gatherings, corporate retreats, corporate events, et cetera. Again, that you would find in a small boutique hotel like this with 150 keys. And with that, then, I'd like to advance the slide to the next sheet. So I believe the next sheet, then, is sheet A01 of the drawing set. So sheet A01 of the drawing set is simply an architectural site plan. It's a color-rendered site plan, very similar or the same one that Mr. Borden had identified. It's simply color splashed here to identify the various areas of the building. So if I orient you to the mixed-use portion of the building, we can see the 3 buildings here. So we have Building 1, which is a mixed-use residential building over retail. We have Building 2, which is also a mixed-use building, rental apartment units over ground floor retail and parking. And then Building 3 in the center, which is our hotel building, which is an 8-story building constructed adjacent to a vertical parking deck. The 2 residential portions of the building are 6 stories. They're approximately 71 feet. And the center portion, Building 3, our hotel, is 8 stories and it's 90 feet. And again, Mr. Borden had identified that that conforms with the zoning ordinance in regards to the permissible building height, given the setback of the building from the property line. The center portions of the building above the first floor parking are landscaped and activated with outdoor passive recreation space for residents of the building. If we advance to the next sheet or slide, this is sheet A02. So this is the ground floor plan of the proposed building. So the areas that are pochade or colored in gray are the ground floor parking. Again, Building 1 is the larger building here. Building 1 itself has 409 residential apartment units. All 58 of the special needs affordable housing units are within that first building, which would be one of the first phases.
I'm sorry, what was that number?
So we have 58 special need affordable housing units.
Prior to that?
We have 409 total units within Building 1. Building 2 has 202 residential apartment units in it. And then we have Building 3, which is our hotel building, that technically has 30 rental apartment units within that building, and then the 150 hotel keys on the upper floors of that building. So in total, if we add those together, that's how we arrive at the total proposed density of 641 units. Again, comprised of 258 one-bedroom units. We have 325 two-bedroom units and 58 special needs affordable housing units. All of this information is broken out and outlined on the cover sheet of the architectural drawing set. So sheet CO1 if you're looking at the drawing sets in front of you. I'll orient you that the parking is largely screened from the public right-of-way and public view. So the areas that are colored in blue are ground floor commercial retail that allow for ceiling heights of approximately 14 feet. So that allows for attractive market rate new commercial retail uses, such as fast casual dining, coffee shops, or other convenience type retail, again, to support a use like this. It helps to activate the frontage and the ground floor of the building with new storefront windows, interior lighting, again, to create an active and vibrant mixed-use village. Around the building, we have new sidewalks and streetscape. So we have sort of a varying sidewalk width, but we have a very generous sidewalk width here around the building, as well as some opportunities for new street trees and pockets of green that, again, promote walkability throughout the site. That's something that's big for the applicant, especially given the other uses that are on site. We expect residents and users of the site who would frequent the site. We want to encourage that walkability, and how do we do that? We create safe and inviting and friendly and activated spaces for new patrons of the retail or residents of this new community. The areas that are colored in yellow are the primary lobby areas for the building. So if I orient you here on Building 1, this is the primary residential lobby for Building 1. It's approximately 9,400 square feet. We would have on-site leasing and management, the package and the mail center for that building and those residents would be located there. We've created a convenient and safe pull-off and drop-off area here outside the cartway, which allows for Uber, Lyft, mail, Fresh Direct, but those short-term deliveries for a building of like this could occur. And again, on-site leasing management to assist with those deliveries during business hours. There's also a secondary residential lobby off of this new upscale motor court that we're creating here. So there's a secondary lobby for Building 1, which is approximately 2,300 square feet. And then if I orient you to Building 2, the primary residential lobby for Building 2, where package, mail, drop-off, leasing management, et cetera, is located on the right side of the plan here. And again, you can see a entry motor court that we're creating outside the cartway. Again, that allows for adequate vehicular circulation for Uber, Lyft, or Fresh Direct and those type of short-term deliveries or visitors to the building to frequent that. And then additionally, we have a secondary residential lobby for Building 2, which is approximately 3,000 square feet, which also has direct secure access off that central motor court. The hotel itself is generally located in the center of this motor court. So upon entering in here, you get a sight line and a direct view of that ground floor lobby for the hotel space. The hotel lobby is approximately 14,500 square feet. That would accommodate concierge, a package, small breakfast space, sort of pre-function type spaces for patrons of that hotel to use. The areas that are colored in darker gray are support areas for the building, such as internal electrical switchgear rooms, domestic fire service sprinkler rooms, off-street loading, and other type of operation and support spaces that we would find in a mixed-use development like this. Again, smartly planned and designed and with adequate access. So let's talk a little bit about parking. So Mr. Borden had made reference to the structured parking. Between building 1, 2, and 3, we have a total of 2,261 structured parking spaces, of which 339 are being proposed as EV parking spaces, and 17 of which are accessible parking spaces. So that complies with Chapter 11 accessibility within the International Building Code in regards to handicap spaces that are required throughout those garages. That also complies with the EV parking that is state mandated, that 15% of the parking that we provide be level 2 EV chargers, whether they are day one or make-ready EV parking spaces. My understanding and interpretation of the state law is that when you have structured parking and surface parking, you provide both EV parking and structured parking as well as surface parking. The EV parking that we have planned for and designed throughout the building complies with the building code, complies with National Fire Protection. Where we locate the EV parking spaces throughout the garage, we try to locate them closer to the entrances of the garage. We also provide, these garages will have a dry sprinkler system throughout that's required by code, but we often provide sprinkler heads that provide a greater volume of water where those are located in the garage. The Building 1 and Building 2 each have a ground level of structured parking, so it's this area in gray. Building 1 has 2 vehicular ingress and egress access points. So there's one on the western portion of the building here and one off the eastern portion of the building. And similarly, Building 2 has 2 vehicular ingress and egress access points, one on the western side we can see here, and then one on the eastern side of that building. Those are covered structured parking spaces. On the next sheet, we'll see the landscape courtyards that are above. This is a non-combustible construction type on the ground floor of the building. It's concrete, so it's type 1 or 2 in regards to construction, but non-combustible. And again, as noted, we have a sprinkler system, a dry sprinkler system that's planned throughout. The parking on the ground floor provides for, we have secure access that provides direct access to the residential lobbies in yellow for residents to gain access. We have adequate access and convenient access to the adjacent retail. We also have then these vertical parking decks that are located on the rear of the building. So these are precast parking garages. Again, these are non-combustible parking structures that are vertically oriented, one floor on top of another. And those floors we'll see on the upper floor plans of the building, but they provide direct, secure access to the residential apartment levels or hotel levels of the building on the upper floors. Again, this is common in a multi-level apartment building or mixed-use multifamily and hotel building like what we're proposing here. Access to those parking garages are located off the eastern road here, as well as off of the western portion of the site. I'm sorry, the eastern portion and the western portion of the site. Again, we're allowing for adequate ventilation and air for those parking garages. They allow for natural ventilation on the north side of the building, and we have an areaway on the south side of the building that allows for natural ventilation. If we advance the slide then to the next sheet, we'll move to the second floor plan of the building. This is identified as sheet A03. So this is above the ground floor. Ground floor, we have commercial retail, residential lobbies, and parking. Once we move to the second floor, everything colored in orange are residential apartment units, inclusive of the special need affordable housing units. The area that is colored in pink is residential amenity space for the building. We have approximately 25,000 square feet of indoor amenity space. That includes a club room, state-of-the-art fitness center, cardio weights, yoga, spin room, co-working spaces, private event spaces, meditation spaces. But again, all the newer type amenities that we would find in a lifestyle building like what's being proposed here. The amenities are shared between the buildings, and we've designed a one-story bridge that occurs on the second floor. We can see the pink bridge here. So it's a elevated and structured bridge that connects the two buildings for access to shared amenities and some of the outdoor passive recreation spaces within the 3 landscape courtyards that are being proposed. The building massing for Building 1 and Building 2 allow for 3 open-air courtyards above that concrete lid of the parking garage or podium that we were making reference to. Building 1 has 2 courtyards, one of which we are proposing a pool in. Pool would be open seasonally, typically from Memorial Day to Labor Day. It's only open when a lifeguard's on duty, compliant with state health code. There's a 4-foot fence around it, but there's secure access for residents and guests of this building. The other 2 courtyards provide for outdoor passive recreation space, some outdoor dining opportunities, congregation areas, areas for outdoor yoga classes. All of the amenity spaces would have direct access, secure access out to those courtyards. And there's hours that limit access for residents to these spaces after hours.
Excuse me, is the pool also accessible to the hotel guests?
That pool is not. That pool in the pink area, the 25,000 square feet of amenity space, as well as these 3 courtyards, are private to the 641 residential apartment units. So the market rate units, as well as the special need affordable units, have secure access to these spaces. The hotel has its own internal amenity space, fitness center, gym, et cetera, as well as a rooftop space with a pool. I see a finger, possibly a question?
Yes,
Oh,
just
sorry.
no worries. The pool being above the ground level parking,
Yes.
it's going to have adequate clearance so that vehicles can
Yes, it
pass
will.
underneath?
Yes, it will. So I think I had noted that we have approximately 16 feet floor to floor on the first floor. So that's from the finished floor of the garage to the finished floor of the second level. On the first floor of the garage, we will have greater than 9 feet of clearance. So that certainly allows for accessible vans, which are approximately 8 feet 2 inches, and as well as additional space. But yes, we'll have adequate clearance underneath the pool. Naturally, when a pool is recessed in a structural deck, we fold the slab. Under that area, we may have slightly less vertical clearance, but we'd have greater than 7.5 feet. So it complies for standard vehicles. Where we had lower height clearance, we typically put sort of crash bars or signage that identifies an area of the garage that might have lower clearance. But the rest of the parking garage, the drive aisles, et cetera, all have taller clearance that complies with code.
Okay, thank you.
So again, very smartly planned, very smart that we're activating these roofs of these parking garage. Again, this is not unheard of, this is not uncommon. This is best in class what we're showing here in regards to outdoor and indoor recreation for these residents. This is a double-loaded corridor design, meaning we have residents on both sides of the corridors generally, except where we're wrapping the parking garage here on the western or southern portion of the parking garage. We can also then see the open-air court to the motor court below here, and then the vertical parking decks that provide direct secure access to the residential buildings and the hotels that continue vertically in the building. Garage 1 and Garage 2 are what we call a split-level deck design, meaning that the 2 ramps are sloped that provide for vertical access up and down throughout the building. And then Garage 3 here is a flat-level deck design, meaning there's no ramps in that garage, but the access to that garage is via the ramp structure in Garage 1 and in Garage 2 here. The building has also been designed that it could be phased and sequenced in regards to construction. so that we could commence with construction on Building 1 and its structured parking before we start on the hotel and its parking garage. And then Building 2 can come then as sort of the third phase of the building. Or in reality, probably Building 1 and the hotel would be Phase 1A and 1B. Construction would just be sequenced. And then Building 2 then delivered as a second phase.
I'm sorry, could you explain that phasing again?
Sure. So Building 1 has been designed that Building 1 and its parking support that use. So naturally, in a project like this, the construction would be sequenced or phased. You wouldn't necessarily pour footings for all three buildings at the same time. You would start with footing and foundations on Building 1. You would pour the slab for that building, right? You would pour the transfer slab and build the apartment units above in the structured parking. While you're finishing units in that building and the interiors, you then next move to footing and foundations for the adjacent building.
Are you anticipating that Building 1 and its parking would become operational, become occupied prior to the construction of Buildings 2 and 3?
It could. That would be subject to building permit review by your building department, but it's certainly plausible that Building 1 might get a TCO, while then Building 3, which is the next phase, is still being constructed. Again, that's typical. Even in one apartment building, there's often what's called a firewall, which separates one portion of the building. It's common in this industry and within your local building department that you might receive a TCO for half of the building and deliver those units to market and begin leasing them while you're finishing the remainder of the units in the building. So that's really all construction sequencing.
And Building 1 contains all of the affordable units?
Building 1 contains all the affordable units, that's correct.
And that would be Phase 1?
That's Phase 1, yes. Yes. So then if we move to the next slide, I believe this is sheet A04. So this is the third floor of the building, largely and substantially similar. We simply see where the roof drops below. So the one-story amenity space here that was only one story. So that just sort of maximizes light and air within that courtyard and allows for greater visibility. So that's sort of a smart design. And then we can see the roof connection here. This is only on the second floor, which is the primary amenity floor. So that one-story bridge on the second floor, we can see the roof below, and we'll see it later in some of the perspective renderings. If we move to the next slide, please, this will be sheet A05. This is the typical fourth and fifth floor of the building. Again, units generally stacked for construction efficiency and mechanical and structural efficiency. We can see the vertical parking garages on the northeastern portion of the building, again, stacking vertically and providing secure access. You generally park on the floor that you live on, and you have secure key fob access into your building or hotel. Advancing to the next slide then, sheet A06. That then brings us to the sixth floor of the building, again, substantially similar. And then advancing the next slide to sheet A07, this will bring us to the roof plan for the six-story portions of the building. So as noted, the two multifamily buildings, Building 1 and Building 2, are 6 stories in height. They're approximately 71 feet, measured from the average grade plane around the building to the highest point of the roof deck. We are proposing a small passive rooftop amenity deck for both Building 1 and Building 2. So we're extending an elevator to the roof that provides for accessible access to residents. We have 2 means of egress via stairs that complies with building code and safety, and opportunities for views of, tree-lined views beyond and passive recreation. So very smart plan here to utilize some of that roof area for outdoor wellness for residents of this community. Now, this is the roof plan of the two multifamily buildings. We see Building 3 in the center. I noted Building 3 is 8 stories in height, so that's a little bit taller. So while this is the roof plan of those 2 buildings, this is the 7th floor of the building. So this is the 7th floor of our hotel building. So we can see the hotel keys that occur on this level, right? These are all hotel keys, either standard king units, double queen bed type units. We can see the corridor and the vertical access providing access to these floors. And then the area in pink is banquet space. So, we were calling this a sky lounge. But certainly, we would have exterior glazing on these 3 walls, which would offer views. And we're showing a double-height portion of that building. Again, this could be used for small wedding space, event space or banquet-type space for this use.
What's the anticipated occupancy of banquet space?
I don't have that right now. I mean, I'd have to reference the chart in the International Building Code. If and when we're back, I can share that. But it would comply with building code, and health and safety. Obviously, the egress stairs, the size of them, et cetera, would all be sized to accommodate that.
I'm sorry, what did you say the square footage is?
The square footage of banquet space in total is approximately 38,000 square feet.
Thank you.
So that's inclusive of banquet space on this floor, the next floor, as well as some ground floor space. If we advance the slide then to sheet A08, this brings us to the 8th floor of the building. So at the 8th floor of the building, the area where we have the X here is open to below. That's where we allow for taller ceilings, approximately 20-foot ceilings or so for a larger gathering space. And then some pre-function and meeting room spaces on this 8th floor of the hotel. And then at the 8th floor, you can walk out onto the roof of the building below. So there was a question earlier, but the hotel and banquet space has its own outdoor rooftop amenity deck that has direct secure access from the hotel. That's accessible to hotel patrons and hotel guests only. So residents of the community would have access through the hotel, not through their own private buildings. Outdoor passive uses for seating and dining, we are proposing a small rooftop pool area for that building. That building, given its height, would be a non-combustible construction type. So that building would all be likely light gauge steel over concrete on the first floor, but the hotel building would be non-combustible construction type. If we can advance then the slide to the next sheet. So the next sheet is the uppermost roof plan of the building. So everything in white or light gray now is rooftop area, right? So we can see the rooftop of the actual hotel itself. That's just mechanical units that are screened, but there's no pedestrian, or not pedestrian, but there's no access to that upper rooftop, right? So at the 8th floor is where we have outdoor walkout space for hotel patrons. So with that, I'll move to sheet A10 and talk a little bit about the exteriors of these buildings. And what we have here, we submitted these in the package. These are the exterior building elevations of the building. We can come back to these and reference these if we need to. They call out the exterior building materials. They have dimension tags that call out the building heights. They show the articulated and varied cornice lines that we're proposing, punched windows for the residential apartment units. But what I'd like to do is move to the illustrative perspective renderings, which I think better describe the exterior architecture, massing, and character of the building. So I'd like to advance to, it's page 15 or slide 15 of the package, and it's identified as sheet A15. So as noted, we have several illustrative perspective views of the proposed project, mixed-use village, that shows it in context with some of the existing uses that are constructed on site and some of the other uses that Mr. Borden made reference to that are either already approved or being modified as part of this application. So the first view we have is a low aerial view here looking east. We can see the existing dome in the foreground and some of the commercial retail that is constructed and built out there today. We can see the hotel that was being made reference to earlier, the Hilton Hotel, which has frontage out here on Monmouth Road. And then the Marriott Hotel that is being proposed to be relocated here adjacent to the sports complex for better proximity and use. We can also see the vertical precast parking garage that Mr. Borden made reference to earlier that is conveniently located to that hotel in the indoor sports areas. And then for further context, again, the outdoor ball fields and playing areas that are located on site. So if I orient you here to the center portion of the image, again, we can see our proposed mixed-use village that we're proposing. So we have building 1, which is a 6-story mixed-use building. Building 2, which is a 6-story mixed-use building, and then Building 3 in the center, which was our 8-story hotel building and structured parking. We can see the small passive rooftop amenity spaces for both Building 1 and Building 2, as well as the rooftop amenity space at the 8th level for the hotel, and then the open-air courtyards, right? In the center of the building here, these cutouts, we can see the residential apartment units, the windows allowing light and air to the residential units of this new community. If we advance to the next slide, sheet A16. This is a perspective view. It's an aerial view looking northeast. We can see where Building 1 and Building 2 here are separated with the main entrance coming into that European-style motor court in the center of the building, providing direct access to the lobby of the hotel and the secondary residential lobbies. Again, we get a sense of those open-air, naturally landscaped courtyards on top of the parking garage, as well as the small passive rooftop amenity space. Advancing the next slide then to sheet A17. This is a low aerial view looking north. So in the foreground are the existing ball fields and play fields. Again, on the left side of the image here, we can see the vertical parking garage, which is proposed and associated with the dome or bubble and the Marriott Hotel being proposed to be constructed adjacent to that. And then on the right side of the image here, we see Building 2 in the foreground, the mixed-use multifamily Building 2. It's vertical parking garage here adjacent, the 2 open-air courtyards, then the hotel in the center, and Building 1 beyond. Advancing the next slide then to sheet A18. Sheet A18 is a aerial perspective view looking east. We're now looking at the corner of Building 1 right here, where we have a outdoor plaza space. This is a gathering space where we could have functions and events. We can see some of the new ground floor retail that's being proposed here, right, where we have tall activated storefront windows at the ground level of building, at the human plane. We've designed these buildings such that we have a base, middle, and top reading, so we have a weighted base at the ground floor. We'll see that in a minute here with the articulation of the storefront windows and the exterior building materials. Large punched windows for the residential units. All of the residential floor levels have proposed ceiling heights of 9 feet. At the amenity levels, we have a little bit taller ceilings. The window head heights are approximately 8 feet, and the glass in the units are either 6 or 8 feet in height. So, and often either 6 or 9 feet in width. So that allows for adequate light and air to the proposed residential apartment units. Advancing the slide then to sheet A19, we have a couple views that bring us down to the human scale, down to the streetscape. So now we're looking at a street level view. This is a view looking east from Road B, but this is that same entry corner of the project that we just saw from the prior image. So we recessed the building here to create a plaza on the corner. There's some outdoor green space, to help articulate sort of the hardscape area, planters and benches and seating areas, new street trees to line these new pedestrian streets. And then we have the storefront windows here that define and provide access and visibility to the ground floor retail and restaurant spaces that are being proposed. Again, we can see some of the vertical articulation and massing here, some of the corner architectural tower elements, and some of the vertical signage for the building. Advancing the next slide then to sheet A20. This is an exciting view. This is a view looking northeast from Road B. So on the left side is Building 1, on the right side is Building 2, and then in the center here beyond is Building 3, which is the hotel. We can see the pedestrian bridge connection here on the second floor where cars pass underneath. This is an early evening or dusk shot, which shows lights on inside some of the cafe spaces and retail spaces. It shows some of the pedestrian walkability, the new sidewalks and crosswalks that are being proposed to provide convenient access to the other uses that are being proposed on site. Exhibit A21 then, moving to the next slide, we zoom in within that entry motor court for Building 3 or the hotel. And this is where we have our main hotel entrance. So we have about 14,000 square feet here on the ground floor, where we have the primary hotel concierge, some small banquet space, some pre-function space, some meeting space. On the left side of the plan and right side of the plan, we have secondary residential lobby entrances, secure key fob entrances for residents to conveniently take an elevator down to that lobby and gain access to this motor court and to the retail. And just behind me are the vehicular garage entrances off of this road into those two garages. The upper two floors of the building here are where that banquet space is that's being programmed and planned for the hotel. And again, we can see a stately and attractive boutique hotel-style entry here with an architectural slung canopy and signage for that proposed use. The next slide, Exhibit A22. Again, this is another human scale view, but this is a view looking south from Road A. So immediately in the foreground here is the primary residential lobby for Building 1. So we have that pull-off and drop-off area that is here, that's outside of the cartway. That's long enough for several vehicles, for 3 or 4 vehicles to queue or stage for convenience, delivery, and drop-off to that main residential lobby. Again, articulated residential windows and massings here to define the base of the building at the human scale, as well as the upper portions of the building, offering relief. Next slide, please, Exhibit A23. Exhibit A23, I believe this is our last perspective rendering, but this is a view looking north now from Road B. So we're looking along Building 2, Building 1, and then the roadway which goes into that motor court. We can see the new storefront windows along the ground floor for the retail, the garage entrance into Building 2, and then just to the right of that is where the entry motor court and main lobby for Building 2 is programmed. Exterior building materials consist of 2 different masonry brick veneers. We have a darker maroon brick that we're using and a lighter slurry gray brick. Dark architectural windows, black aluminum storefront windows at the ground floor where the commercial retail is. We have architectural slung canopies with raised dimensional letters providing signage and branding for the various retail uses and or hotel uses. And as you can see from the facade here, we have articulations both horizontally and vertically, right? So it's important here that we're breaking up the mass. As you're walking around these buildings or experiencing the buildings, you don't see a static flat facade. We have ins and outs and a rhythm that's being created here with some of the vertical treatment on the facade. We're also defining the first floor of the building with a sub-cornice line or belt band here that again relates to the human scale at the first floor of the building. Lastly, just to close out some of the architectural testimony, we are proposing some building signage. The building signage conforms with the ordinance, but we have 4 residential entry canopy signs that are located at the 4 residential lobbies for the building. Those are raised channel cut letters affixed to the edge of the architectural canopies. We have 1 residential wall sign. We saw that in one of the renderings. Those are pin-mounted letters that are mounted vertically on the facade that would identify the name of the building. At the garage entrances of the building, we would have signs, whether you call that a formal building sign or it's really more wayfinding. But at the garage entrances, the various 6 garage entrances, we would have signage identifying parking, entrance, exit, et cetera. And then for retail signage, we are permitted 1 sign per tenant per frontage. So again, as the retail were to be broken up and carved up at a later date, we would have 1 sign per tenant. And then lastly, the hotel and banquet signage, right? We have 2 hotel banquet entry canopy signs that are being proposed at the main lobby entrance for the hotel, as well as 1 wall sign for the hotel, again, which are pin-mounted letters. They're LED halo backlit, which provides for soft ambient lighting, tastefully designed. And just to conclude, the building, again, smartly planned in regards to the ways we're activating the rooftops, how we're providing access to the building. The building will include Energy Star appliances for the residential apartment units. We have Energy Star lighting fixtures throughout, auto-off movement light sensors in the parking garages and corridors, windows with low-E coating, low-flow water fixtures and the EV parking that we were talking about earlier. So again, very smartly planned. There was a lot of information, and hopefully you heard a little bit of excitement. But the applicant and design team is excited here for this mixed-use village and how it nicely complements the existing uses on site and the permitted uses in the ordinance.
Two quick follow-ups, and
Sure.
then I'll turn it over to the board. First is, you mentioned mechanicals for the hotel on the rooftops. How are mechanicals handled for the apartments?
So the apartment units would be split systems. So they'd be split systems. So they would have condensers located on the roof. The condensers are approximately 42 inches in height. They're generally located along the center corridor of the building. So that's 25 to 30 feet set in from the exterior parapet of the building. Walking and driving around the site, you would not perceive that given the height of those condensing units and given the setback. But again, to the extent that they were visible, the applicant would be willing to screen them. But in my experience, again, given the height of them and given the position of them on the roof, largely not visible walking and driving around these types of buildings.
And then refuse, how is refuse handled?
Great question. I spent a lot of time talking about refuse and recycling, but it would all be handled internal to the building. So the two residential buildings, we would have multiple trash chutes within the buildings. So on each residential floor level, we would have refuse rooms that provide access to trash chutes. Trash chutes and recycling chutes, one dedicated for rubbish, one dedicated for recycling. They terminate at the garage levels of the building, where we have a large refuse termination room, where we have a compactor, adequate storage for 2 cubic yard rolling containers and recycling. That's all brought curbside and picked up by a private hauler 1 to 2 times a week, right? Depending on how many rooms we have and capacity. But again, that's a scheduled and coordinated event with a private hauler. Similarly, the hotel would have trash chutes. Again, there's maid service in hotels, but they would utilize trash chutes. And we have large holding areas on the ground floor of the hotel. And then lastly, the retail, which backs to the parking garage, right? We have service doors and loading doors for the retail and dedicated storage for that retail, whether it's food use, and we're talking about wet trash that's conditioned spaces, or dry goods in cardboard boxes with a cardboard baler, but all stored internal to the building, brought out by building management and porters, and managed with a private hauler.
That's all we have of the architect.
Questions?
I got a few.
Mr. Tremor?
So, I'm not totally up on the exact code. You're saying 90 feet is code and 70 feet is code. You realize we don't have fire trucks that could reach this.
So in terms of code and what's permissible, the zoning code that municipal professionals put forth permits that height. That height then is also permitted in the International Building Code, right, which references and conforms with NFPA code. So the two residential buildings are 71 feet to the roof, right? We are proposing, we have 4 levels of wood frame construction over 2 levels non-combustible that conforms with code. The center portion of the building, that's 8 stories, is all non-combustible that complies with building code, local code, state code. How those buildings are egressed complies with code in regards to fire suppression, standpipes, et cetera. That all complies with code. I'm not up to speed on the municipality's fire department and their apparatus and vehicles, but we're providing adequate access to these buildings, access to the egress stairs and the standpipes and the fire systems that we typically see for buildings like this.
So will each apartment be fully sprinklered?
Each building will be fully sprinklered. So let's break it down. Building 1 is a six-story mixed-use building. It has 409 residential apartment units, ground floor retail, and parking. It will be fully sprinklered. There'll be an NFPA 13 sprinkler system throughout. The parking garage on the first floor is a dry sprinkler system. Why is that? Because there's some cold air that goes in there. We don't want the pipes to freeze and break, right? In the event that There's a fire, obviously water is provided to that, but there's wet standpipes within egress stairs or rated shafts within that parking garage. The vertical precast parking garage is on the backside of the building. They would also have a dry sprinkler system throughout that's required by building code with wet standpipes in the egress stairs. We would have FDC connections on the exterior of the building. Certainly, as a condition of approval, we could work with the fire department on if they had specific areas where they would want FDC connections on the building, right? We also would have knock boxes at the primary entrances to the building. A knock box is a secure box that only first responders, fire department, police department have access to, but it essentially provides a master key and access to garage and all floors of the building. Building 2 is very similar. It's a 6-story multifamily building. We had 202 residential apartments, ground floor retail, parking, same design. Building 3 in the center of the building, 8 stories, all non-combustible construction type. Ground floor would be concrete, right? And then the 7 floors above would be light gauge steel. So likely type 2, maybe 2B construction type. That would be fully sprinklered with an NFPA 13 sprinkler system. Again, the garage associated with the hotel would have a dry sprinkler system. All of this is required by code. Some of what I described is above and beyond code.
The garage height, what do you anticipate that being?
The garage height.
Inside each level?
Well, great question. So the ground floor is a little bit taller, right? Because the ground floor is a podium design and we have retail. So I had noted earlier that we had approximately 14 feet to the underside of structure. But then we have some plumbing drops and we have other mechanicals and we're insulating the residential apartment units above. So the vertical clearance in the parking garage on the ground floor is probably between 9 and 10 feet.
So you're not going to be able to get a fire truck in this garage?
No, you would not get a fire truck in the garage. In my experience, you don't typically see fire apparatuses entering garages like this, given fall zones and fall protection, but also just given the limitation of vertical heights that you would see in a parking garage. The vertical precast garages also, we would have at least 8.5 feet on the first floor that conforms with accessible van vehicles. On the upper floors, we could have anywhere between 7.5 feet to 8 feet underneath the beams of the garage. But again, the garages are fully equipped with the dry sprinkler system, wet standpipes for fire department or first responders to hook up hoses to and connect.
No, I mean, it's a great concept if you had a bigger fire department. We're a small town that's going through a lot of growing pains. I mean, I could see a potential nightmare, especially, do you anticipate any EV parking inside this garage?
Yes, so state code requires EV parking. We're proposing EV parking. I made a testimony earlier where we would typically locate that EV parking within the parking garage, as well as the sprinkler heads that we would use that provide for a greater volume of water, specifically where the EV parking spaces are. The garages also would allow access for lithium battery vehicles, right? So even if we restricted EV parking, there's no restriction for lithium battery vehicles. So it's a challenge that we have to navigate within construction code and safety.
The roof is the spot for it, as far as I'm concerned. Anywhere in between the floors, you have a nightmare. A sprinkler is not going to put an EV out. You know, so it's something to consider. But again, like you said, we'll leave it up to the fire official, and you'll agree to any and all that he would insist on, I would hope. Because this is something that, I mean, it's the future, I get it. But, I mean, you're talking a lot of hand stretching, a lot of limited access. EV vehicles, bikes, whatever else, they're becoming a major issue that really can't be inside a building. I mean, look at New York City. They're banning everything inside a building, including EV parking, you know, for certain areas. You know, the standpipe garage, I get all that. The garages will be 6 stories and roof parking?
Yes, they will. Yeah,
Okay, so total of 7 stories.
The vertical precast parking garages?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What's the height of pedestrian bridge? Trucks, I assume will be able to get underneath them?
Yes, so so the height of the pedestrian bridge, we'd have approximately just under 17 feet underneath that, so that should provide adequate clearance for an apparatus or emergency vehicles to get underneath that.
It
yes.
doesn't fit under there, it's not going to get there.
Correct.
All right. No balconies or fire escapes on these buildings?
There may be some balconies on the interior courtyards. The exterior facades, we're not showing any walkout balconies. I think we had suggested some Juliet balconies. But no fire escapes. I think that was your question. That's not required by code. That's not typically how you egress these types of buildings, but.
Well, I'm thinking about it as a fireman. If
Sure.
there's a fire in a building, somebody runs out, the door is open, these people are now stuck. How are they
Sure.
going to get out? So a balcony will be where they're stuck, and then we have to figure out how to get them out of there.
Sure.
There's no street parking.
Well, we do
assume-
have on-street parking throughout the site. We have some convenient street parking or surface parking throughout the site, but the structured parking that's being proposed here is for retail patrons, residents of the community, and hotel patrons.
Well, I'd say the street parking, again, will limit the height of an apparatus, what it could reach. Let's see. How many elevator banks?
We have multiple. So, I mean, the residential, each, building 1 has approximately 4 elevator cores. Building 2 has approximately 3 elevator cores. I'm just looking at this here. Has 2 elevator cores. The parking garages associated with them have a vertical elevator core. The hotel has 3 elevator cores associated with it.
Okay, so multiple. What did you say the window construction was going to be out of?
So the window construction for the residential levels of the building likely would be a vinyl window. So it would be a vinyl window. Typically, we have 3 pieces of glass in a living room, so it's about 9 feet wide, right? And typically at least a 2-foot sill. Window head heights are about 8 feet, so it's roughly 9 by 6 feet.
So vinyl laminated windows that are
Vinyl laminated window.
pretty much indestructible.
The ground floor retail obviously is aluminum storefront, right? And the hotel portion likely would be more of a composite window or a extruded aluminum window, given, the construction type being proposed there.
All right. Like I said, I can see the fire officials struggling with this only because of our capabilities today. But again, I guess once we get to that point, we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Martins?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Peters.
Okay, so I have a bunch of them, but I'm going to group these into one comment that you made. So according to you, this is not uncommon, right? Yeah, it's broke. Not uncommon, best in class, right? So in your experience, this size of development, have you seen it put in a relatively small town like Jackson before? What type of towns, type of locations have you seen this type of development with the 2 residential and a hotel? It kind of goes back to the fire
Sure.
issue
Well,
and the structure of a small town. Can it handle this type of best-in-class development?
I personally and our firm, we've designed numerous communities of similar size, between 300 and 600 residential apartment units in suburban towns like Jackson.
Yeah.
We've designed projects from Massachusetts to Baltimore, but specifically around New Jersey in similar scale and size suburban communities like Jackson Township.
Okay. Have you seen any in New Jersey? Similar scale?
Yes.
Other towns? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Let me see some other ones. So the hotel, if I understand it, the hotel is in the back, the way I kind of see it, right? The residentials are on the side. When you drive up to the hotel, you need to go through the residential areas. You know, I call areas, the sections, building 1, 2. To get to the hotel, you got to go through building 1, 2, and so on. Am I right? Or is there an entrance somewhere else where I can go right to the hotel, I don't need to pass all the residential areas?
If you knew where you were going and there's wayfinding signage on site, which there is, and you
Yeah.
wanted to park yourself, so yes, there will be wayfinding signage throughout the site that will identify public parking, will identify parking for the hotel. If I wanted to park myself, I could go right to the parking garage, I could take my bags out of my vehicle, and I could walk to the front door of the hotel. If I wanted to utilize the valet service or drop-off, I've done this myself where I dropped off my spouse and my children. I went and dropped the car off and then met them in the lobby or met them in the room. Right. The bellhop maybe brought up their bags. It's not uncommon for, again, a hospitality use like what we're proposing here. The hotel is centrally located. Centrally located. There's adequate visibility for it being seen entering into the community. And it's an attractive, stately entrance. I don't think it's hidden. I think we're actually celebrating that. And by being in the center where that entry motor court is, where we have commercial retail, it actually creates for a nice and inviting entrance that's well visible.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because when I saw your great renderings, to me, just stepping back, it was kind of difficult to determine what's residential and what's the hotel. Because it all blends in, which is good. You don't want it to stand out too much. But then if I'm someone who's going to use it, like, where the heck is the hotel? You know, which door do I go in? Plus the fact that I have to pass 2 other hotels before I get to that one. So they're kind of together, right? You got a Hilton, I think a Marriott, and then you got this Motel 8, whatever you're going to have in there, we don't know.
Well, there's 3 hospitality uses being proposed on site.
Okay.
They're in distinctly different locations.
Okay.
And again, through key wayfinding signage on site and through branding signage, you know, some of the building-mounted signs that are being proposed, whether they're canopy signs or building-mounted signs on the upper portions of the building. Driving down the road, I think it'll be pretty clear if it says Marriott or Hilton Garden or Hilton Tapestry. Through branding and wayfinding, if someone has a reservation ahead of time, there will be clear signage, or if they're interested and want to identify which building is which, the wayfinding signage and the branding signage on the buildings will provide that.
Right, yeah. I do see signage being a very important part. 'Cause,
It needs to be done tastefully, and it needs to be done correctly to be successful.
right, otherwise it could look like a maze
Sure.
and you get lost. Okay. So my next question on that is, this specific hotel, who do you see as the customer, the client? Who's going to want to go to this specific hotel? Maybe not the Hilton on this side, the Marriott on that side. What type of client are you trying to attract with that hotel?
Well, I think they're each different, right? When my wife and I travel versus when we travel with our children versus when I travel for business, I might stay in a slightly different hotel, a slightly different size room. I might be looking for slightly different amenities. So I think the 3 hotels and the hospitality uses cater to a variety of product, right? And the way people live and the way people travel, whether someone is here for a small corporate convention, right? Right, when I say corporate convention, I'm headed to I'm headed to an event in a few weeks' time that's for senior living, active adult, independent living, memory care, et cetera, right? It's at a hotel. There's pre-function space. It's a professional event. There's a discounted room rate to stay the night before, right? That's a different clientele base versus maybe some of the sports and entertainment uses that are here on site versus someone maybe vacationing. My kids are off to school this week, Thursday and Friday, for a teacher's convention. We were looking at maybe getting away, right? So the market is there for it. I think the demand is there for it. And by having a diversified product, I think you're catering to the market, right?
Okay.
And that's something that the applicant has researched with various hospitality vendors.
Right. Yeah, well, so the 3 categories you mentioned of clients is exactly the 3 that was in my mind. And why I asked was because of the residential nature that's surrounding it, right? So if I'm a resident and I'm living there, do I want a bunch of sports guys coming in, whatever, going into the hotel? Kind of invading the area at this one spot? Or if it's a convention, more business-like. I saw that on some of the pictures. You had gentlemen with suits on, so it looked like it was kind of a business-type client. Versus a vacation, which is a lot of kids, when people are on vacation, totally different. And what that does to the residents around it. That's why I asked that question for that specific hotel. So back to this not uncommon. So it's not uncommon to have a hotel and then residential right next to it or around it? It's not uncommon?
It is very common. Multifamily and residential living is very akin to hospitality living in regards to types of amenities, lobby experience. We see it very often in, again, suburban, mixed-use developments like this.
Okay. So I'll leave that to the experts who understand the market. My real concern was about the Jackson structure and utility, fire, police, all that, whether it can handle something of this magnitude. Do we have in place, Jackson, enough resources if something goes wrong, or even for police, right? Will there be guards or anything like that from the development, or it's all reliant on public police to police this whole?
I don't know if we've gotten to any plans for security.
Right.
I guess that'd be as needed. But I wanted to just supplement. My client indicates that the ball fields this year for 40 weeks had the need for 1,200 rooms. So they would take one of, any combination of the three. You have banquets and weddings that would occur in the facility. They would need rooms. You have Great Adventure, we're hoping draws people who are there. So depending on the type of person and what kind of room they have, you have 3 different hotel options.
Right.
And then whatever other reasons that people would need hotels.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, now I'll just touch on, because time is running out, I'm sure other people have other questions. So the special needs, right? So special needs means each one is a little special and might have a different need. So are each one of these special needs apartments, are they catered to whoever that resident is going to be, depending on their special need?
I could tell you that just in Manalapan first, before the architect, there were 24 units which are in 6 quads. So there were 4 units per quad that are administered by one company that's approved by the state. And then there's a separate group that's administered by a separate. So it's not typical to have each resident handled by one service. It's usually combined, like in Manalapan, they have 24. I believe it's 24, right? Yeah. Right. So that's how it's done, and that would be broken out. And we have to get DCA approval for all of that because they control the number of units and how they're handled. But I'm not sure from an architect's point of view.
So, they're largely independent living, right? I've designed, I was before a municipality just the other evening for all supportive housing building, and we had a gentleman from United Way there talking about the tenants and the operations and how that all works. But we're anticipating veterans, perhaps someone with MS or Down syndrome, largely independent living, right? So they don't require a nurse aide or a tech or someone to administer medicine. That's not the type of special needs we're talking about. Now, if there was a group home unit, there are state codes. There's a full-time nurse tech that's there. You have 2 individuals there in a 4-person group home overnight hours. That's a different type of unit versus most of these units are typically independent living units.
Right, and the goal is that these residents can work in one of the retail facilities or the hotels. That's how Manalapan was designed too, so they could just walk and have jobs. And a lot of the businesses try to bring special needs people into work. So that's always the concept we had with any commercial related project.
I understand. Yeah, I was picturing like some kind of physical.
No.
Thing. Okay.
And they also have to income qualify too, because they're affordable units. So not only do they need, so there's usually a state aid and other things associated with the residents.
Right, right. So, yeah, so to your point, having the retail there is a good place for a job, or even the hotel. So, okay. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Peters?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Johnson, thank you for your testimony. It was a whole bunch better than listening to planners or realtors or appraisers. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My questions will be to you. They may be to the entire team, but I often counsel the board that it's nice we see what we're getting. We just want to make sure what we're not getting as well. So as it relates to what you're calling Phase 1, is it your understanding that the intent of the parking is that all of the parking for these uses are meant to be within the bounds of this building, or do they rely upon the parking deck across the street?
Yeah, so for these uses, my understanding is all the parking is supported with the structure parking we're proposing here, including the retail is my understanding. Again, I think we heard from Mr. Borden that we do have a parking table that breaks out all the parking that we're providing by building, by floor. We will provide that to you. We will
My concern
demonstrate.
simply is that if we get to the point where I don't have any comment about yield, my concern is if part of the parking is across the street, how is that managed?
Yeah,
So at some point in time, you're going to run out of parking.
Understood.
And so I heard you sort of generalize, and we're here for, quite frankly, the applicants applied for amended preliminary and final approval. So I'm trying to figure out how to set this up to do resolution compliance and get you
Sure.
to construction drawings. If the parking in the raised deck in the rear of the building is meant for the residences, which portion is intended to be for the hotel, which portion is intended for retail, commercial?
Sure.
And then when we get to that tipping point, is some of it meant to be across the street? What I don't want to get into is that, well, if you don't have enough, you have to assign it. That's just a terrible idea. But I understand that this applicant at the beginning is going to own it, but if there's a lease for the hotel and there's an entity maintaining the rental apartments, let's try to avoid that conflict before we get there.
Understood.
Simply by having the plan correct.
Understood. We can provide a chart that breaks that out, and to just answer a couple of those questions or concerns, we have dedicated, assigned, numbered spaces for the residential apartment units. We have dedicated spaces for the hotel. There are then retail spaces that will be signed as 2-hour spaces or signed accordingly. But going back to wayfinding earlier, there will be signage throughout the parking garages that identify that. We also have on-site leasing and management for the 2 residential apartment buildings that are there during business hours. The hotel is fully staffed. So as there's a problem that arises, it's addressed in real time, right?
I always wish that the project is so successful, we have that problem, but the Friday and Saturday night,
Sure.
people coming to the hotel, they're coming from the ball fields, they're going to eat at the restaurant, or they're going to go shopping at the retail, and then I have this sort of, did we plan this correctly, and do we have a direct route to get across Road B over to the other area? More of a planning issue than a safety issue, but
Sure.
I want to make sure that the board understands what is being designed with this
Sure.
nice-looking plan.
All good comments. Will provide a parking table and chart that shares that. Sure.
Mr. Tremor, on the end, had started to ask you about porches or balconies, so I'm going to ask it a little different way. Are there proposed patios, decks, or porches for any of the units in this structure?
Yes, so the units that are on the second floor of the building that have direct access to the roof of the parking garage would have a small walkout terrace space, right? They have landscaped amenity courtyard, right? There would be a fenced-off or landscaped area with private secure terraces at the second level of the building. I had provided testimony that within the courtyards, some of the residential apartment units may have walkout balconies, yes. Along the exterior of the building, currently, we're not proposing any exterior walkout balconies. In my experience, sometimes balconies can be difficult to control what residents maybe put out there in regards to lights or,
In my experience with multifamily, if you give someone a space out of doors and you put a bar around it, they're going to put a barbecue out there. They're going to put a table and some chairs. They're going to store their kids' bicycles
right.
or beach umbrellas. It's going to become
Right.
what the storage area that's not provided internally will be provided externally.
Sure. Well, that's a great
And-
comment. And again, that's largely why when you look at the exterior renderings of the building, you don't see those spaces on the exterior facade. We're cognizant of that, the look and feel of this building.
And again, I apologize, I'm trying not to be nitpicky, but at this point, this is the set of plans that the board's being asked to act upon for both preliminary and final site plan.
Yes.
And if we haven't gotten to the detail of, are there areas where, and again, I understand in the second floor, it's a walkout.
Correct.
So to speak. But I'm talking about the floors where there is no access outside. If you put something outside, people are going to store crap out there. Their beach towels, their
Right.
something.
We're not proposing any on the exterior public-facing facades as shown on the renderings, as shown on the elevations, as shown on the building plans. That's our testimony. We agree with your concerns and comments. Interior to the courtyard, there may be some outdoor spaces. Those are managed through leases. Again, there's on-site leasing and management. That's policed by the building. It's not visible from the outside, right? But yes, what we're proposing here is what we're seeking approval for. So I agree with your comment before, is that the plans and the rendering and the elevation and the density and the height and the testimony provided is what the applicant is seeking approval for.
Thank you. We had this, I wanted to get an understanding of the uses on the amenity decks up on the 8th floor. The renderings that we had at one meeting, I don't think you were here, Mr. Borden and I went a few rounds about what's out there, who can use it, what's it for, is it really permitted? Can you give a little detail on, I assume for the 8th floor, it's for the hotel only?
Yes, yes, the 8th floor is for the hotel only, correct.
And that's where we may have outdoor pool,
Well, we
cabana.
show, I think I shared extensive testimony earlier. I'm happy to repeat myself, and we can go to that exhibit if it makes sense. Maybe we can go to sheet A08, which is the 8th floor of the building. But at the 8th floor of the building, where we have indoor banquet space associated with the hotel, we have walkout roof terrace space. This is accessible by hotel patrons and guests only. It's secure access that's limited to hours and operations associated with the hotel, associated with the municipality and ordinance. We have a small passive on, I use the laser pointer here, on the eastern portion of the building here, we have a small passive outdoor seating area where we have some outdoor couches and chairs. That's off of some pre-function and meeting space internal to the building. Again, common in my experience for a boutique hotel of 150 keys like this with some events space and gathering space, as well as a slightly larger amenity deck space here in an L shape that provides for outdoor seating, again, places to congregate, perhaps places to dine seasonally associated with that indoor event space. We are proposing a small pool that's only associated with the hotel. Again, the testimony that was shared earlier, the pool would be operational seasonally. It would be operational when a lifeguard was on duty. It has adequate fence and security and access to it that complies with state health code as well as local code. So we think these are smart amenities that are tastefully planned for the hotel. And then separately from the hotel, on the 6th floor of the building, we could zoom out, we see it on this plan, but I provided separate testimony earlier that we have passive recreational amenity space for Building 1 and Building 2 at the roof level, where we extend an elevator to the roof, which provides accessible access for all. And we have some opportunities for outdoor dining or gathering or sit and enjoy a soda or a glass of wine with a friend or a spouse or, a colleague, right? So smartly designed spaces that allow for wellness and being.
So the sixth floor amenities are meant for the...
Sixth floor amenities are for residents of the two multifamily buildings only. It's secure and direct access from the residential building. So unless I have a key fob and I live in that building and I have a lease, I can't gain access unless I'm a guest of a resident there, right? It's not open or accessible to the public. It's not accessible to patrons of the hotel. It's not accessible to patrons of the retail, just to residents of that apartment community.
Thank you. There was discussion about the location of the special needs units, and I apologize. I wanted you to correct me if I didn't hear correctly. They're meant to be on the second floor of the building?
So, no, I don't know if I said that. The 58 special need affordable units are all within Building 1, which is the anticipated first phase of the building. And they are located, if we move to sheet A07, please. And let's go back to A06, because A07 is the sixth floor of the building. Let's go to this is the sheet A06. We're now looking at the sixth floor of the residential building. I noted that the residential units generally stack for efficiency and plumbing and structural efficiency, but the supportive housing units are located in this quadrant of the building, and they occur on every floor of this residential building. So they occur on floors 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the building. Again, they stack vertically because the unit plans stack. Their plumbing and structure, et cetera, stack for efficiency, again, which is typical for a building of this nature.
And I believe Mr. Alfieri started to discuss how the special needs were made up, and he indicated that there are quads that are proposed. And I know that I'm familiar with the product of your client in other locations, and I just want to make sure that at some point we'll get more specific plans that show that as opposed to having a number of one-bedroom units, whatever the number is, that it'll be the number of beds, and they'll be made up of one-bedroom units as well as quads. Because otherwise, when you guys leave here, you're going to have an approval that you don't want to build, and someone at the zoning department or the building department says, wait a second, we didn't approve quads.
Yes, I mean, I believe what we're seeking is approval for a certain number of beds. The applicant, we had made reference earlier that there would be an operator, right, for specifically the special need affordable housing units in terms of how that lease works, how you qualify, rent structure, et cetera. As we identify that, some of the beds could be grouped, to your point. There could be a quad, but it's the same number of beds, so we're not increasing that.
My concern is that in the land use ordinance and out in the real world, sometimes they don't match. So if I get a zoning officer who says, you guys said you approved 50 units, was it 50 units or was it 50 beds? And I want to make that clear because...
Understood. I think we should be
trying to
clear.
avoid that
I think we should be clear in the
post-approval.
record and the resolution.
And it's definitely beds.
Thank you.
Yes.
And as it relates to the hotel drop-off area, while I certainly appreciate the layout, and I'm married to an architect, so sometimes I call them the pretty pictures, at some point in time, will there be a more detailed site plan from the user as it relates to the drop-off area, the street furniture, the vehicle circulation, the landscaping? Is that something that, once we get a user, because, again, respectfully, yours is a very nice layout, and Mr. Borden's is sort of the same, but there's not a lot of specificity in that location, and I would assume because Hilton wants it one way and the Sheraton wants it a different way.
Sure. Well, yes, I think once a user is on board, some of that specificity would come on board. we have a vision for this, and this is something that will stay. So the motor court we're showing, Mr. Borden provided testimony earlier, but we have adequate turning radius for vehicles and access. We envision a flush curb, right, with raised bollards that provide for pedestrian safety and delineation and signage in regards to the drop-off and where the valet is and how that queuing operation works. But I agree, some of the specificity will come once an operator is identified.
Thank you. Those are all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Just to sum up on the affordable housing units, you're saying it's 58 beds, not 58 units?
58 beds, that's correct. So it's
if you
58
have-
beds
If you
total.
have two-bedroom apartments, or that means 29 could hold 58 beds.
Yeah, so currently in the plan, we're showing them all as one-bedrooms, right? So if two one-bedrooms were combined together, that could be a two-bed unit, right? If we combined 3 of them together, we can get a quad, right? We don't need, because in a quad, they're sharing a living room. So it's not like a one-bedroom unit has a living room, a bedroom, and a kitchen, right? A quad has 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, or maybe 3 baths, but a shared living room, so the width is smaller. So what we're seeking approvals for is 58 beds, and then as we identify an operator, we'll work with them in regards to the breakdown of singles versus doubles versus quads, if that makes sense. But that fits within the same area that we've planned in the building.
Sounds like dorm rooms.
So you could conceptually have 58 one-bedroom apartments.
Currently, the plan shows 58 single units or one-bedroom units, yes, but that still is 58 beds, right? And that's what we're seeking approval for. And what we're saying is that we may combine some of those, but that doesn't increase the density. They're still, they become 2 occupancy units as opposed to
Still be
single
58
occupancy
residents.
units. 58 residents, 58 beds, single beds, yes, or residences. Residents, yes.
Any additional questions for Mr. Johnson? Mr. Hyman?
Can you give us some more detail on the exterior design of the garage buildings? You have some, if you go to A13, there's some picture design, some green design. If you can just give us some detail of what those are those?
Sure, I'd be
those
happy
more
to.
like,
So on the vertical precast parking garages, where they're not lined or wrapped with residential apartment units, we've designed an architectural louver system that screens the parking garage. We're also then showing some vertical green walls, as well as vertical signage or artwork. It's not really signage, it's more murals and artwork to activate that facade. That facade is largely not visible from the public circulation on site. It faces the industrial use adjacent to us. But again, we've attractively designed that or screened the parking garage levels where they're exposed on an internal road on the site. on the
Right, so my
property.
question really is, are they considered, the building design, are they replaceable? Are they going to be changed, meaning, for example, they are facing the ball field, are they going to be changed for the teams that are playing there? Are they signage, or are they considered part of the design? and
No,
not
it's part of the
being
design.
replaced?
So it's not intended to be signage. It's really art, right? So it's a screening, vertical green walls, and then sort of a mural system.
Okay, so can we make that a condition of approval, that it's not to be like banner-type things?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would require separate approval if it was signage and banners. but
I'm
yes.
just making sure, that's all, thank you. The other thing I had was, for the hotel parking, the only access to that is from the rear of the hotel?
So the hotel parking access is either on the ground floor of the building in building 1 and 2, which then has direct access into the lobby, or via garage 1 or garage 2. So garage 1 and garage 2 have vehicular access from on the ground floor of the building. The testimony was that there's a ramp system. It's a split level ramp system where you go up a half level, then go up a half level, right? So garage level 1 and 2 are ramping up 7 floors to the roof level. And each floor then provides access to garage 3, which is immediately abuts the hotel. So again, we'd have wayfinding signage. I think that was the testimony I provided earlier, but there'd be signage throughout the parking garages and on site identifying where to go to park for the hotel, and then where your convenient access is from the secure structured parking into secure access points of the hotel. If I'm a resident of the hotel and I'm staying there for multiple days and I have my key fob pass, I can probably enter in on the various floors of the hotel. If I'm arriving for the first time, I have to go check in at the front desk and show my identification and get a key pass and access, right? So there's that typical operation and access that occurs.
And lastly, the amenity decks. Are there any playground areas for the residents being proposed, or they're just open areas?
They are open areas, open passive areas. We have some synthetic turf and some lawn areas, as well as paver areas for passive recreation. The site has more than enough adequate ball fields for ball play and that type of use. That is also an amenity.
Are those accessible for the residents of these buildings?
During off hours?
In general, I mean, a normal, typical development would require some kind of play area throughout the day. I think there's many residents that are going to reside in these buildings that they should have play area throughout the day.
That's something we could certainly look at. Interior to the building, we have children's playrooms, right, that are age targeted towards younger toddlers. We have club room areas with gaming systems, old school Pac-Man games, foosball, billiards tables, et cetera, right? That again is age targeted more towards tweens. And then we have passive recreation within the courtyard spaces. In regards to outdoor recreation, residents of this building, residents of the community would have access to community park system at large and some of the other space on site. But that's certainly something that we could study.
Yeah, I think that would be important for the residents to have access to.
We can study that. I mean, again,
an
if that
exterior
becomes-
playground area.
Sure. I mean, that's a great comment. And as there's a demand for that in the market, I think the applicant would certainly address that.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Johnson?
No, thank you.
I
Thank you.
would just like to say, I thought you did a phenomenal job. I got a lot of information. It's one thing to look at the pictures, but I thought you were very clear. I definitely think it made it easier for me, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let me open it to the public, although we know there's nobody else here but your team. We're going to go ahead and open it to the public. Anyone wishing to come forward and question Mr. Johnson on his testimony? Seeing no one come forward, we're going to go ahead and close public session. It is now 10:28, Mr. Alfieri. Rather than get started, we all realize you're going to have to come back. So at this point, do we want to find a date? And then if you want to make any closing remarks for tonight, you're more than welcome.
Sal, do we want January 21st, February 4th?
Just let me check with our team.
Sure.
Yeah, it's enough time for us to plan. January 21st works.
January 21st?
Yeah, and that's a meeting that's already been established, then you,
I'm sorry.
I can't hear.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ms. Alfieri, go
the
ahead.
January 21st meeting's already been, you already established your calendar for that time?
We have one applicant on currently,
No,
correct?
but it's, okay,
Yeah.
that's a date that's already established, okay, fine.
Correct, yes.
So, yeah, January 21st would be perfect.
And, Mr. Alfieri, you waive the statute.
Granted extension, yes.
Thank you.
And you'll announce that to the public that there's no further notice?
No further notice is required.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes. So why don't we address this?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Wait, wait,
Ms.
hold on,
Warren,
Mr.
what did you say?
The question of the density. right?
Yeah, we're going to address that
When are we going to address it?
at the next meeting, January 21st.
So it is at the next meeting?
Yes.
'Cause I thought it was going to be at this meeting,
No, that's what we said at the beginning.
passing it.
No, he said at the beginning it was not going to be at this meeting.
Definitely at the next meeting.
No, because we have 3 new members. That's the difference.
All
Motion
right.
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, well, I was waiting for them to finish talking, so,
Yeah.
motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.